Hello, and welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Well, on today's show, we're getting the locals' insider scoop on beautiful Exeter, which is a historic, charming, beautifully colored community. It's got murals all in the downtown. It's got shopping. It's got dining, and it's got Sequoia National Park in the backyard. So that's what we're talking about, what it's like to live, work, and play in Exeter. We have Sandy Blankenship, the Executive Director of Exeter Chamber of Commerce, joining us. We have the Mayor, Teresa Boyce, joining us.
Ooh.
Madam Mayor.
Uh-oh.
And then Ben Garcia, the manager of Exeter Hobbies as well, and we know about playing there. I mean,
That's
you get those little
fun.
cars, those little car things, and you race them on the, it's in that beautiful old brick building in downtown Exeter.
You totally get to be a kid.
Totally, all
I
ages.
love it.
I know a lot of dudes hang out there after the Stag, which is the local drinking hall. But
I
don't know if
name,
they're really
too.
open after that, but I know. It's fun. It's
I
fun.
bet you race a little bit weirder.
I had fun in there, but I'm glad he's joining us. And then Steve Schneikert, back in, it was like 2013, our second trip into Exeter, he did a special Hollywood history segment. So we thought we'd re-air it after our Locals Insider where we played 10 questions. So
Cool.
Stay tuned for that. Then wildlife conservation expert Adam Roberts is back on the show. We call him the compassionate conservationist. I'm going to say that right. And he's going to be talking about traveling in regards to animal welfare and how a new tourism consultancy, it's called Animondial. Okay, I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it, but it's Animondial, like dial. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's been established over in England to provide impartial advice and guidance to travel businesses to help them make more informed, animal-friendly choices and manage their impacts on animals, because they've done all these studies, and basically it comes out that over 71% of travelers going to different countries want it to be animal-friendly.
Well, I would say yes.
That's a big statement, and
For sure.
I think it's really important. So it's something we're going to talk about. But yeah, that comes out of, when you think that over 110 million tourists go out a year, and 550,000 animals are involved in tourism activities around the world.
Yeah.
So this is part of our new tourism and hospitality features we are doing in our Parks and Travel magazine, and a lot of it is about responsible tourism. Exeter is one of those places, having public art, being near the sequoias, and keeping their history and sense of place. They have excellence in tourism in Exeter, California.
I vote for Exeter.
I vote for Exeter. I want to go sit there right now and go to Monet's and have a sip of wine.
I want to go play with Walter.
I know, Walter the cat, so they have a cat, and they're good about that. They rescued a cat, and people come say hi to the cat. So talk about, having an animal-friendly in a good way. They have that representation. And then after that, Nicole Alden will be joining us. She is the Chief Exploring Officer at Brave Era, and she's going to talk about her music, her world travels, and creating her popular Brave Era naturally hypoallergenic luxury 100% silk travel sheet. I have one, and it is so smooth and silky soft. And basically, when you travel and you have a sleeping bag, and then you're actually in Costa Rica and it's hot and sweaty, who wants to sit inside a sleeping bag? So it's this nice, really cool sheet, and it's like a sleeping bag, and it fits in a little pocket, and you can carry it around, stuff it in your briefcase if you're like couch surfing, but you probably don't have a briefcase when you're doing that. But anyway.
Well, you might.
Just saying. It's one of those easy things to travel with. And even hotels. Some hotels, I know that you check into a hotel and the bedding has got like all kinds of detergents that don't go well with your skin, and you can take your own sheet everywhere. So it's really cool.
I think it's a smart thing.
Very smart. It has a little area for the pillow. It's really nice. I like it. So happy Hump Day, everybody. It is January 17th, 2018. It is National Hot Buttered Rum Day, so everybody should be celebrating right now. It's actually National Bootlickers Day too. So
Okay.
there you go. You're listening to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel Show, and we're streaming live from Tucson, Arizona. We're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. We are the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of 2 digital interactive magazines. Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine is our variety publication, and you can check it out. Go to blendradioandtv.com. And we also have Parks and Travel Magazine, and that is at nationalparktraveling.com. And we're getting ready to publish our next issue of that. So sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get it in your email box.
That's right.
And the other magazine and all other kinds of good stuff. So I think it's time to go to Exeter. Are you ready, Nancy?
For Exeter, always.
Anytime. Stay tuned. Located in Central California's Sequoia Country, Exeter is a charming historic agricultural community and gateway community destination for Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument, and Sequoia National Forest. And its historic downtown makes for a great day of shopping, eating, a little wine, a little fun, and touring their incredible collection of murals. I mean, the whole downtown is decorated with murals sharing the history, the natural aspects of not only the town but the region. I mean, you're in the backyard of Sequoia National Park. I mean, really, it's really easy to stay there and just go take a trip to the park. And we always love to showcase communities like Exeter, and it's just beautiful. And springtime is coming up, and you can smell the scent of oranges and the orange blossoms, I should say. It's just such a charming, charming place. And we're excited today on Big Blend Radio. We have 3 special guests joining us who are going to answer 10 questions to give us travelers the local insider scoop on what it's like to live there, what it's like to work there, and play in Exeter. Plus, at the end of our segment, Steve Schneikert has got a special Hollywood history of Exeter. And as I said at the beginning of the show today, that is way back when, from 2013, I think our second visit there. And so we'll air that at the end.
Cool.
All right, so let's start with Sandy Blankenship. Sandy is on our shows every month or 2 months. She is the Executive Director of the Exeter Chamber of Commerce and the President of the Sequoia Tourism Council. You can go to exeterchamber.com. That is your main porthole for finding out all about the community, the events that are happening, and where you can, the mural tour, everything is there. If you go there, go visit the office because you can also meet Walter. Walter is the town mascot. He's a rescued kitten. He's a naughty little boy, or maybe he's a handsome man now. But welcome back, Sandy. How are you?
I am good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. We miss you. It's like every time we go, like we look at this, and I'm posting photos of murals on Exeter on Instagram. I'm like, we need to go back. We need to go back. We're missing you guys. I know. This year it's 2018. I think it's going to have to be in the books for this year for sure. But how is Mr. Walter doing? I mean, he's not a young kitten anymore.
No, he's pushing 6 or 7. We have to always do the math when we try to figure out how old he is. But he's still quite a handful, but he still loves everybody that walks in the door, whether they like him or not. He's got to greet them. So he's a really great ambassador for our community and for our office.
He's the dude.
He is the dude.
He is the dude. So, when I talk about you being in Sequoia, the Sequoia National Park's backyard, or you're, both, you could be in Sequoia, like, hey, let's go to our backyard is Exeter, and Exeter, the Sequoia National Park's your backyard. But how far are you from major cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco so people can understand, especially if they're flying in, how far you are from there, or how close you are, I should say?
Well, we're in Central California, which makes us easily access to the Bay Area and to Los Angeles. We're probably 3 or 4 hours from the Bay Area, and depending on where you're going in the Los Angeles area, probably it could be a little more or less the same amount of time. So we're kind of right in the middle of the state, which makes us very convenient.
And you're close to Vegas.
Well, kinda.
I'm just saying.
6-7 hours away.
Well, that's nothing.
No, it's really not too bad. No, or you can hop a plane for about an hour and 15 minutes or so, and you can be there.
See, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. I want to bring our next special guest on. She is the mayor of Exeter, Madam Mayor Teresa Boyce, and she is also the senior credit assistant of the Bank of the Sierra. Now, if you're going to bank somewhere, don't you want that kind of name, the Sierra?
I know, like that.
I know. It's got some mountain magic. Maybe your money will grow as big as sequoia trees because the world's largest living thing in the by volume. I'd like that in my bank account. Anyway, welcome, Mayor, Madam Mayor. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing very well, thanks. And I'm just proud to be here today.
Well, we're excited. I heard that like last year was your 25th anniversary of working at the Bank of the Sierra. So that is that's an accomplishment when you think about it. Like that's a long time to be in one working zone. And then you decided to be mayor. And I heard that people were knocking on your door to be mayor a long time ago, and then finally said, "Okay, I will." Like, what was it that said, "Oh, I'll do it"?
Well, I became a grandma, and I decided that I was fine with just being on the city council and let others be the mayor. And then I decided when I became a grandma that, yes, I can do this, and my granddaughter can say, yes, when I was little, my grandma was the mayor.
That's cool.
I know, because I was going to say, is it mayoress? Like, it's interesting because not many towns have lady mayors, and I'm seeing the last 5 years more and more women take up that role. So is that part of your decision making also? Is like, hey, look at what your make sure that things are the way you want them for your grandchild too, and for the community, but also looking at women being in that position.
Yes, I am the third woman mayor of town here. Our first mayor was back in the 70s, and then just before my term, Robin Stearns was our mayor. Mm-hmm. So I am the third female mayor.
That's awesome. And I remember Robin Stearns being on our show too. Yes. Sandy, she was on our show a year ago? Mm-hmm. She was cool. I remember having a good time with her on the show. Sandy, how long have you been at the chamber now as the executive director? Because I know you're also on the board. It's kind of the similar story, right? As Mayor Teresa here.
This weekend, I think on the 21st, I believe, is when I started back in 1991. So I'm starting my 27th year with the chamber.
Wow! Right on. You rock, Sandy. She does. She's cool. So are you going to go to the Stag and have a cocktail on the 21st? I'm just going to ask.
Well, that's on a Sunday. Probably not. But, of course I love what I do. And this town makes it so easy for me to promote it and tell people about it because I love it. It's home.
Yeah. It is a beautiful town. And everyone's so friendly and everyone, you've got to go there. I'm going to bring our next guest, Ben Garcia, on. He's the manager of Exeter Hobbies, where you can go have a super cool time playing with little race cars, and you can race, and they have all kinds of cool events. Go to ExeterHobbies.com. I'm telling you, this is one of the things too. When you go downtown in Exeter, us ladies like to go shopping. They got plenty of shopping, little coffee places and sandwich places, and go look at the murals. But I know the guys want to go hang out at Exeter Hobbies. Is that the truth, Ben? And welcome.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it sounds about right. All the women, I've had several occasions when I've had a party booked, and all the women walk in with the kids, and then here comes their husbands, and then they disappear for about an hour or two, and then I'm stuck with the kids and the husbands, which is great. The atmosphere downtown is great for anyone. It's a very family-oriented community. I really enjoy it here. I've enjoyed it since day one when I first walked down the street.
That's awesome.
It's true, walking down the streets. Sometimes because we travel a lot, you go in and out of places, and sometimes you feel a little nervous. I've never felt that in Exeter. It's just so kind and pretty, and you just feel like you want to keep walking. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right. Exactly. 2 years ago when I took over managing the shop, I asked the owner, Mark Hull, where was a good place to eat. He says, just walk anywhere downtown. And so I cut across the alleyway there and finally made my way to the main, to Pine Street there. And I walking down the street, and about three people acknowledged me, hello, how you doing?
Yeah.
How's your day going? And I, you're not used to that, And I grew up in a small town, and coming here was just phenomenal. Knowing the people, and even now today more so that I walk down, they recognize me as working here as manager of the Exeter Hobby Shop, and so they recognize me and they say, "Hey, how's it going over there?" It's just kind of a community that really pulls together and helps each other out, and I really enjoy that about this area.
Well, you got to say hi to Mark for us too, because we had fun. He let us go into and film one of the events, and with all the race, because you have an in-road off-road track, right? So it's like you can go in and you're not bugging the neighborhood with all these noises or anything. Like everyone's in there, and it's crazy because even when I got my film footage, it was like this looked like you were at a big event. Like it looked like we're at a stock car race or something. Like by the time I looked at it, I was like, these cars look like real, like big. By the time I was done with it. But
we have a full service shop, and with the track in the back, it just only adds to what we do. Like we offer every day, 7 days a week, race rentals. You can rent a truck for $10 and get 2 batteries with that. We also offer party packages of various prices, and you get a little bit more with each one, of course. So we have a little party room, got the track out back, so it makes it real enjoyable for anybody, from young girls to young boys, even up to gentlemen and ladies up to their 50s and 60s. I have several customers that are now retired, husband and wife, and they came in over the Christmas break and bought a couple cars, and the wife came in, I think, about 3 weeks after and said she was a little upset because her grandson had broke her car over the holiday, so she needed it fixed so they can go play. So they have their own little setup that they're doing, the grandpa and grandma, that they get upset. So they came out and bought several trucks for their grandkids so they didn't mess with theirs. So
that's it. Get your hands off my truck.
Yeah, get off me.
Right.
Keep your hands to yourself and off my truck. That's how it goes. All right, so it's time to play 10 questions. We love this. Okay, so it's time to play 10 questions. We've got 3 locals who are going to give us the true insider scoop. And I want to start with Madam Mayor, Teresa. That's it. I love the Madam Mayor. So, Teresa, how long have you lived? I know it's 25 years, the Banks of Sierras, but how long have you lived in Exeter? And, I mean, some people were born and raised in their towns, or did you come in from another place?
We moved to Exeter in 1989. So 29 years.
Wow.
There are a lot of people who lived here, were born and raised here, so they'll tell me I'm a newcomer.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So what are some of your favorite things about living in Exeter?
Oh, just the small town, no traffic, people, many people, the families, you just hear a family name and you know that's a long-time family here. People know one another. They come out for things, come to mixers and different gatherings that we have go on. People in Exeter come out for things.
That's cool because that's when you really breed that community connectivity, which is so important that you have those shared values through that. Ben, let's ask you, how long have you been there? Because you said you moved into town. How long have you been in Exeter now?
I've been in the community for about 2 years now, and
you
every
are
day.
A newbie.
Right? Yeah. I was. I grew up in a small town, much just like this one here. I left for 12 years as a Marine. I came back, and this is where I ended up. I'm very blessed to say that I am here because it's just, like I said, a phenomenal community. I feel safe. Let's just say that, when the kids can walk down the street. It reminds me of back when I was in school. My mom worked at a pharmacy, and I stepped 2 feet out of my front door, and she knew it. That was back before cell phones and everything else. So that kind of reminds me of home a little bit, and I really enjoy it here.
I think I love the safety aspect of what you're talking about, and kids being able to walk down the street. I think that's such a huge deal in our country right now, And I want to also, before we move on, say thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you. Sandy, how long have you been in Exeter? I know you're a Hanford girl.
am. I moved over here when I got married in 79. So I've been here, almost 38 years, I think. I lose track. I moved here about March of 79.
Wow, so we're almost at an anniversary there too for you.
Yeah, but
so,
I'm with Teresa. I'm still a newcomer. Just depends on who you ask. I haven't been here.
Yes.
If you're not here 50 years or more, you're a newcomer.
I think that's so cool. I mean, seriously. But now, okay, so now that you're all settled in, all of you, Madam Mayor, Teresa, I want to ask you, if you had friends or relatives that pop up for a visit and you get to be their tour guide, where would you take them?
I probably would take a drive up Rocky Hill and stop at the top and turn around and look down at our town. It looks like a carpet of different colors of squares, and it's just beautiful. Probably downtown for lunch, maybe in and out of the antique stores. I love to do that.
Cool.
That's nice. I like the
like
antique
that
stores
too.
That's another big thing for people. People go travel according to antique stores.
Because you can see what the community is like by what antiques are in the stores.
Oh,
that's right.
Well, you can. No, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. And what about you, Ben? You have relatives and friends that pop up. Where would you take them?
Roughly the same. I have some answers here that I've kind of written down a little bit before, but what I would do is I think, as you mentioned before, the murals around here are just really, really gorgeous. If you can take anybody around town, they have a map that you can take around and look around at all the the buildings that have all the murals on them. I think that's one of the things I do. And then, of course, take them out for lunch. There's a couple of hidden spots here that a lot of people don't know that are off the beaten path that I'd probably take them for lunch there, being that my family does like barbecue. There's a couple little places here that I'd love to take them to.
Cool. You can mention names, everybody. You're allowed to do that. Give them some plugs so people know.
Yeah, we're not like regular
Well, in that
radio.
case,
please go ahead and if you want to give them a shout out, please do so people know where to go eat.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you get a chance, the next time you guys come in, it's off the beaten path a little bit, further down Pine. It's called the Ranch Hand Cafe. Andy over there does a really, really great job. He prepares his food early in the morning. Everything you got is fresh. From the mac and cheese, coleslaw, all the meats, all the sauces, everything you eat there is fresh from the day. It's not nothing that's cooked the next day before or anything. He prepares everything that day for the day. And it's great, great food.
Right on.
Awesome.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay, so I want to know about...
I need to ask Sandy.
I'm interrupting my mother.
And how dare that happen?
Madam Mayor Teresa, does that give me a thing of like not being allowed into Exeter? Am I allowed to? Can I be pardoned?
Well,
really?
maybe I can arrange that you won't be pulled over.
Oh, good, because I really don't want to be. That's not my thing. That's the only way I want to be pulled over is if I go to Exeter Hobbies and like I crashed in somebody else's little race car thing.
Good. So, Miss Sandy, how about you? And I'm sure we've asked you this before. So,
yes, I would start off with a mural tour. I'd do a personal tour with people. I'd have to refresh my memory on some of the hidden objects because I have forgotten where some of them are located, but it still would be fun to have them all help me find them because that's part of the fun of the murals. And, of course, going to one of our local eateries, like Ben said, the Ranch Hand is fabulous. Just depends on who's with me and what their tastes are, what they would prefer, because we have quite a selection. We have Monet's, we have Cafe Lafayette, we have Wildflower, we have Hometown, lots of Mexican restaurants, pizza, you name it. So we would probably do some antiquing and the murals, because we've added a few antique stores since the last time you've been here, so you will be surprised to see many of those. And then if we have children with us, I'd probably take them over to visit Ben over at Exeter Hobbies. And even the big kids like that, too. It doesn't have to be little kids.
Sure.
Big kids like it as well. I don't have the eye-hand coordination for it. I've never even really tried.
That's
it's
part
fun
of
to
the
watch.
Apparently, I can't even keep to a list,
but that's part of the fun is watching people that don't have it.
I know, that's the cool thing. I know it's. But they have this one track where these trucks are going up mountains and stuff. It's like that's like
fun.
I want to do that. That's cool. It's like better for the environment too, and everyone can do it. And come on, Ben, come on, you got to tell me some girls are doing this too, and some ladies are getting in there and down and dirty with the cars and the trucks.
Yes, you would be surprised. I do events in the what you would say the RC rock crawling, just similar to what they do in a 1-to-1. I do in a 10 scale, so I build a vehicle that can go out rock crawling. And so in that community alone, I have several friends and their wives. They go out there, and I've met several women along the way that race. There's a young lady named Kara Hopkins. She's big in the race community. And then there's a lot in the area that the little girls and the young ladies, they come out to race. Once Dad does it as a teenager way back when, so he introduces the hobby. What I like to tell other customers, it's either this or the Xbox, and I choose this every day. So a lot of the families are getting involved with it because they get their kids outside in whatever capacity, whether they're doing something with a fast car or a rock crawler or even a drone, just to get somebody outside and enjoy the community a little bit, go out to a park and play with the cars, or even come here, So that's the great aspect of what we do and what we offer as well. We get the kids nowadays, they're so far behind the controller for the Xbox that now we want to put them behind a controller for a car outside.
Yeah, I like that. I think that
agree.
getting outside, get some fresh air, get out there. We're actually with people and not in a dark room with that video thing and getting there's
all
so many
yourself.
screens, and then next thing you know, they're in front of a TV screen, and then it's like from screen to screen to screen, and then as they get older and get into business, it's going to be another screen. So we have to unscreen ourselves. I like that. So now I'm finally get to my question because it's one of my favorites. Fun facts and hidden treasures. What are some things people may not know about Exeter? So, Madam Mayor Teresa.
Exeter is the citrus capital of the world. We have 31 beautiful murals and a mural store. I don't know if you ladies have had the pleasure of hearing our noon siren, but we have an old World War II era siren that blows each day at noon. For decades it's done this. It used to let the field workers and the packing houses know when it was lunchtime, and this whistle still blows at noon each day. One of our murals that's on the side of Exeter Meats, the mural, there's cattle. There's pictures of cattle on the side of the mural. If you stand at one end of the building, the cattle are all looking at you. And then if you walk down the sidewalk and go to the other end of the building, the cattle all turn their head and they're looking at you at that end now. That's one of my favorite murals. Yes, it is.
That's crazy. I know which one you're talking about too, but I think, oh man, I'm going to go look at all my photos I took now.
You have to look at that.
That's a whole new thing. That's a whole
new
thing, and I
turn
love
their
that
heads.
siren.
Yes, the cattle turn their heads and they follow you down the sidewalk.
That's crazy. Okay, everybody needs to, and you have to do it after you go to the Stag cocktail bar, and then do it. Yeah, you have to do it. Go to the Stag first, and then go hang out with the cattle. But that siren, I love that siren. We've talked about it on shows with Sandy before, and I mean, even doing radio shows, it's like our radio show will start at 11. Our Champagne Sundays we've done in the conference room at the Chamber Building, and we're like, here it goes. Like, do we play music? It's like, too bad we're at Exeter. You need to hear how Exeter sounds. Woohoo! It's super cool. Ben, what is a fun fact and hidden treasure that you've discovered having been there over 2 years now?
Well, there's a little cool museum that we have here. Of course, we have a really, really, really great hobby shop. And then, of course, going back and not over to the Stag, but we have Rocky Hill Brewing, which very good. Yes.
Oh.
Sandy,
so, yes.
I think you didn't tell us about that. I think you mentioned something was coming on, but I mean, I didn't know there was a brewery in Exeter now. I mean,
we have a new tap room too.
Oh,
excuse me? Like,
yes,
we're
late.
late.
It just opened like a couple of months ago. It's called
good.
Rockyard Tavern, and they actually do serve Rocky Hill Brewing beer there. So,
wow.
But they do have a tasting it's out in the country. Actually, it's like a country block from my house, so it's really easy to get to Rocky Hill Brewing. But the Rockyard Tavern's right here in downtown. So it's pretty
okay.
fun.
Like we need to speed up our plans to come back. Just saying. I think that is it's so interesting to hear all these changes. I love this. But Sandy, what is one of your fun facts and hidden treasures?
Well, like I touched on before, our murals have hidden objects in them. Some are easy to see, some are not so easy to see, and it just adds another layer of interest to our murals. And we are painting a new one right now, a small mural, but we're getting a new one, so we'll have 32 coming up. And as Teresa mentioned, we're unofficially the citrus capital of the world. I don't think we've ever been officially given that title, but we claim it anyway.
Take it.
Yes, and we'll take it, yes. And then many years ago, Exeter was well known for their cow chip throwing contest.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Now we're getting into the good and dirty stuff that I love.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal. It was very competitive. You had to pick out just the right cow chip. And, yes, and it is dried cow pies is what they throw. Yeah, it was during our fall festival, and they would do it in the street in front of the school there. They'd do it on D Street, and whoever threw it the farthest, I think there was a woman, I think a female winner and a male winner, but they got a gold, spray-painted gold cow chip trophy.
We need this as an emoji.
I love that.
We need the Exeter Gold, and that's what it should be called. And I hope you bring it back at one of your annual events, because I know you have big festivals.
We've tried to revive it. I think we had FFA tried to do it once. It just didn't, excuse the pun, fly anymore. It just didn't seem to be. People didn't know what it was. But,
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's so much fun. We did that in South Africa. We used to, like cow chip bingo kind of deal.
We used to just throw them at each other.
Yeah, and that's what happens. You'd go to the Stag, and then after that, next thing you know, you're in the barn throwing cow chips. But anyway,
Yeah, but it was really fun. Everyone, it was a big competition. I mean, there were people that come back every year to defend their title. I think I just saw it a little bit when I first moved here to Exeter, and it hasn't been here as long as I've been with the chamber. We haven't done it, but it's just a part of our history, and I think there's still some people around that have a couple of the trophies. But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I think that's fun. Too bad you can't get it back there.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think it's good for kids to get their hands on the cow chips, but
okay.
Now going into a whole other direction, the next thing is clean-handed, I suppose.
I know.
Well,
okay, so now let's start with Miss Mayor. Teresa, if you were going to recommend to somebody for date night, I love this question because it does put it on a new kind of level. Where would you recommend, because how many people would ask you, where shall I take my date on date night? Where would you recommend they do that? Mm-hmm.
I think my husband and I, we probably would stop downtown at the Rockyard Tavern and maybe have one of their craft beers, and then maybe walk around downtown to one of the fabulous restaurants downtown, maybe, I don't know, for pizza or for Mexican food, or even to Monet's for wine, or and all the while probably keeping an eye out for a painted rock hidden somewhere downtown by someone from our rock group. We have a rock group, and they're called Exeter Rocks on Facebook, and people paint rocks and hide them downtown so that maybe visitors can be walking along and find a beautiful painted rock.
Hey, that's cool. I want to do that. That's cool.
Yes,
that's neat. It's kind of like geocaching, but it rocks. No offense
yes,
to geocaching.
and you can keep it, or you can re-hide it, but they just ask you to take a picture. It's usually painted on the back of the rock, the Facebook page, and you can they ask you to take a picture and post it on there where you found it, and then if you want to re-hide it, you can, or just keep it.
How smart is that?
Dude, this is
I love this.
Exeter's becoming the find it.
Treasure hunt after you've had a craft brew. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Treasure hunting is cool, and I know a lot of communities are getting into doing that because it's kind of like, okay, there's like, and making it like a painted rock. It's art involved. I love that, and it's cool for all ages. That's super cool.
And the Facebook page is Exeter Rocks with an exclamation point.
Okay, I want to join for when we come up because I want to do it.
Paint a rock and put it there.
I want to do it. Exeter Rocks exclamation point. Everybody on Facebook, go do that.
That's really cool. Okay, Ben, same question to you.
We have to have a dude's opinion.
Yeah, because it might be different. Where do you think's a good place to take a date? What's your date night?
Well, I'm what do they call a hopeless romantic? So I'm looking probably maybe to Taco Man, McDonald's. Someplace like that. I'm a big spender. No, as the mayor said, downtown, a walk downtown, maybe stop for a cocktail somewhere, and there's so many fine eateries downtown that you have plenty to choose from, and just a nice walk. We forget what it's like to get on our feet and go do things like that, and just that little walk where you can get to know each other, talk, have conversation without interruption, and you can look for that rock or have drinks somewhere. Like I said, just find a nice quiet place, have a nice dinner, and that's what I would enjoy. At least tell somebody anyway to enjoy the community that way.
Would you hold hands?
Oh, you got to hold hands.
Oh, you have to. You'd have to. You got to be a complete gentleman. I was always taught you walk. The gentleman walks on the side of the where the road is. I think that's in case you can, when you make your partner upset, she can push you closer off the curb and you can get hit.
I thought it was so that you could be a buffer between the car and a possible accident.
Well, I do that with other cars, depending when we're driving too. It's like, okay, you need to go there because there's a truck coming. But no,
funny. But I like that.
I broke up with someone on their lack of hand holding skills.
Well, all right.
Really?
Because you can't. Look, it's like. No, there's levels, and you have to go through the steps. You can't just go from A to Z, and you start at A, and you need to move up that ladder. And the A needs to always stick around. Holding hands is one of the the first things, and one of the things that continues through life, even as married couples. And if you lose the A, you're never getting the Z again. Just saying.
Well, as children, when we were younger, being in kindergarten and first grade, I remember getting to hold a girl's hand, and that was a big thing. And now you see some of the young adults, and they're walking around, and they're not
with a cell
showing
phone.
any affection. Yeah, they're showing more. They're actually probably, as they're walking in the mall or down the street, they're probably texting each other.
Exactly.
And we've lost a lot of that, and I love the old black and white movies for that reason, because if you look at a lot of the old actors and actresses and some of the way they portray themselves in movies, you can see a lot of that old, holding the hands and being courteous and being a gentleman and doing all this stuff, and we've lost a lot of that, and and you see it actually. Just yesterday, I was eating at the Chinese food place, and I looked across, and there is a shop across the street, and a couple, both probably in their mid-60s. They were holding hands as they walked in, and as they got out, she walked down the steps. He waited for her and held her hand down the road, and I thought that was one of the neatest things I've seen in a long time. But it took an elderly couple for me to see that. You know, you don't see that with these young adults now.
Yeah. You want to go up to them, take their phones away, and go, "You've lost that love and feeling."
Right.
That's exactly it, you know.
I mean, interesting. You know, I like that.
Yeah.
And it's true, you know, Exeter is romantic because you feel safe. And people are friendly, and so you can hold hands.
And walking downtown with all the brick buildings and the murals, and
I mean, that's cool. So, Sandy.
Yeah, you're not off the hook.
Yeah, you're not off the hook.
I thought they
Scandal
did
on
a
the
great
Chamber
job.
Executive Director.
Yeah,
what are you doing on date night?
What about date night for you?
Oh, date night for me is to go out to dinner. I love to go out to eat anytime, but going out to dinner to one of our nicer restaurants. I usually hit some of the others during lunchtime and stuff, so I like to go to a little nicer restaurant, and we have a couple of those in town. And then just stroll leisurely downtown. Like Teresa said, the rock thing is really popular. People are really getting into that, and so it's a local resident started it, and it's just taken off like wildfire. And some of the rocks are gorgeous too. There's some really good artists. So you never know where you might run across one of those, and so that's always kind of exciting when you find one. And then probably stop off at one of our restaurants and have a nice dessert after the stroll. And sometimes on Friday and Saturday night you might find some live music in a couple of the restaurants, so we might sit and have dessert and maybe a little glass of wine and listen to some music. Just like something leisure.
Yeah. Calm.
That. So now we're going to move from date night to we're going to go on a picnic.
Yay! I love
because
picnics.
We like picnics. So
picnics rock.
I know. So, but we want to fill our picnic basket with local food and drink. So, Miss Mayor, where would you go on a picnic, and what would you put in your picnic basket?
I probably would get a sandwich or a wrap from Hometown Emporium or the Lunchbox with a side salad and pickle and cookie, of course. And maybe sit on the grass over at Mixter Park and listen to the water flowing in the fountain. Sit in the grass on a blanket. So that just sounds like a fun picnic to me.
Awesome.
And Hometown Emporium. I love their cookies and their wraps. Those cookies, seriously, I need to come back just for that. I mean, you got some good baking going on in Exeter, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So, Ben, what about you? What's in your picnic basket, and where are you going to go?
Well, I think I would talk to Andy over at the ranch and have him whip me up something special, a couple of meats, some coleslaw, stuff like that. Maybe take a trip up Rocky Hill and sit up at the top and just kind of take in the view and the moment, and probably have maybe a couple of small drinks, nothing too big. Just enjoy ourselves, have a good conversation. I think that's a lot of it. Keep the cell phones in the car and just get to know each other.
It's cool to be outside.
Man, I'm seeing that Exeter is an unplugged destination.
I know.
And then you're taking photos of the murals and the photos and posting them on Instagram and Facebook so everybody knows.
I wonder if people ever find themselves hidden in one of those murals.
I know.
Like, Sandy, have you found yourself hidden in a mural yet?
No, just Walter.
Yeah, Walter's in one.
How do you know? You might not appear in there.
Yeah.
That'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
But so, Sandy, what about you for a picnic? What kind of food and drink would you take, and what spot would you like? Unless you're going to sit in front of a mural while you're in it.
Well, it's funny how you can take pictures in front of some of the murals, and you can be kind of deceptive. It can look like you're in the mural. So it's kind of fun. There's a couple of them that are ground level, and you can do that pretty easily. Cool. I'd probably start with some sandwiches from hometown and get some gourmet snacks and some local milk and maybe a great bottle of wine from East Street Market, which is a new business in town, and they carry all kinds of local cheeses, crackers, honey. They're adding things all the time, and it's kind of what they're calling themselves like a farmer's market type market.
Nice.
And so you can go in and find lots of things that are made not necessarily right in Exeter, but in our county, because we don't have everything produced here, but we have quite a bit. And it's just a really nice little store. So I would probably go see them, and then maybe get some lemon cookies from Wildflower Cafe. Their lemon cookies are to die for. And then maybe a slice of lavender cheesecake from Monet's. Yeah, that's really good too. So anyway, and then probably go up
You're
if
killing
it's late.
me.
I know.
I'm like the lavender cheesecake. I'm just thinking.
It really is good.
Buttery Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio with it. Sorry.
And then would probably go up, if not right here in town, if it was late spring or early summer, maybe rent a houseboat up at Quia Lake and take all our goodies up there and just float around on the lake. But if it's not that good a time, then we might want to just stay right here. We've got lots of parks, lots of really neat parks. Our city park's got lots of big trees. So, yeah, there's lots of places in town that you can have just a really quiet picnic if you would like.
Man,
I vote for the
houseboat.
The
floating houseboat is super cool. Like I've never been on a houseboat, and I want to. And when I saw that, I remember filming out there, and I'm like, there's a houseboat. I want to be on one. I want to be on that. And that just seems like such a nice, lazy afternoon to me. It's just someone else has to do the steering, not me. That's not good. That's not a good idea.
It doesn't even have to move for me.
I know. I don't care. Like I can make things move on my own. But So I want to talk about walking. I know you've all talked about walking downtown, but there's neighborhoods. There's I know you've got the sequoias in your backyard. You've got Quia Oaks Preserve. I mean, you've got a lot of places, all kinds of parks. But I want to know if you could take a 1-hour walk with anyone, alive or passed on. Who would it be, and where are you walking? And this is about, do you want to get, advice from someone, or is it someone from your past or someone now? Just taking that walk, because walks are great conversations. This is all stemmed from, I got to do our Facebook group, 1-hour walk, hashtag 1-hour walk, to get people outside, to throw the cell phone away like we've been talking about on this show the whole time with you, is just to get out and observe things like rocks and flowers and plants and bugs and understand the seasons of your community or understand the destination that you're going to. So let's start with you, Madam Mayor Teresa. Nancy calls you Miss Mayor, so you're Madam and Miss. So, you go, girl.
I think that I would want to take a walk with my dad. He passed away in 1993. Before I became active in the community, before I started volunteering with the chamber and the city, and he would be very proud that I'm the mayor now, and that I've been on the city council for 9 years. I would like to walk him around this town that I have called home for 29 years. He's never been to Exeter, and I would love to show him around. But I think that would be my dad.
How much fun would that be?
How nice to kind of have that reflective moment and moving forward,
love
too.
It.
That's awesome. Now, Ben, where are you taking a 1-hour walk? Are you taking a drone with you, too?
Possibly. I think the mayor and I have a similar outlook on this. My dad passed away in 2000 while I was in the military, and the Sunday before he passed, he had called, and I was out golfing, and I didn't return his call. I just thought it was another call. He called me every week and just wanted to talk, and I think I'd love to take that walk with him and find out what he wanted to tell me that day, because he passed away 4 days later. And so I would probably want just total silence, just him and I in the moment, and just walk through deep into one of the orchards where we can just have that last conversation.
Oh, one of the orchards in the area, because there is something about that too. Because you go in rows and it's still something different, and there's that silence. I get what you're I'm sorry for your loss.
For sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's hard. Sandy, what about you? Where are you strutting?
Well, I think I would like to meet up with Carl Schutz. He is a gentleman from Chemainus, British Columbia, that came out, and the city hired him to do a 3 or 4 day workshop on how to start the murals, because he had a successful mural program in Chemainus. He was kind of the guru at the time, and he came out and just taught the committee how to go about all the legal parts of it, and the easements and the contracts, and just the nuts and bolts of doing a successful mural program. And I think that's why Exeter has been successful with our murals, is because we had the good groundwork, and ours are fashioned from their example, because they had similar issues as Exeter, kind of dying on the vine. They're downtown, and so they created this, and now they're a booming tourist attraction, and that's what we had hoped would happen here. And thank goodness the city council at that time felt it was an investment worth pursuing, and it has been one of the best things ever for our community. I remember from the beginning, I was here before they started, and it's been really good. And I understand he's still alive. We had some visitors from Chemainus here last summer, and they said, "Oh, we're from a mural town too," and then they had no idea that we had, we knew all about them. And they said, "Oh, Carl's still alive." And I'm saying, "Oh, good." So I sent one of our magazines, and I would just love for him to come and see how successful we've been, and it was a lot due to him.
Oh,
that's awesome.
So I'm imagining you're going on the mural walk, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Showing him all around town. Yeah, to show him how we've grown, and how his advice and guidance had helped us.
That's awesome, and such a good story.
That's good to know.
And with everything that we're doing with our new tourism and hospitality section, you have to come on another show on that, Sandy, because it's something that is such a great example what Exeter does. And I think other communities can look at what Exeter has done and is doing and continuing to do, and in such a good footprint, in other words, a light footprint where you're not. You have a good balance between tourism and people living in the community, and I think that's such an important thing, because that way everyone benefits. The visitor, the community benefits, someone who's living there, and I know that's not always easy to achieve. And so you guys, you have such a good example. You really do. And you remind us about what small town America is. You remind us about the quality of life, and that is key. And I think that's something that in tourism doesn't get talked about all the time. It's like, oh, we're going to do this attraction, going to see that. But when you go to a place like Exeter, you're reminded of quality of life. Everything the three of you have been talking about on the show is quality of life, where you can take that fresh breath of air and go, hey, let's take a walk and just sit and talk and have those moments. And, I just think that's an amazing thing.
I know. I love it because you feel safe and you don't feel rushed.
Yeah.
And it's
real.
so important now, because the one thing that, as this world turns, we feel less of is safe and having time.
And stress-free. So I think you guys do so much. It's amazing. Okay, so my next question is, it's always fun to learn a new trade or skill. So, the thing is, like, you look around Exeter, if you could jump in someone else's business for a day and just take it over for fun, just to learn something new, or do you want to do something completely new and different, a new career for a day? Just for a day. We all know that you love what you do. It's just about swapping out for a day so you can learn a new skill. So let's start with you, Meta Mayor, because, look what you're doing. You're banking. You know what I mean? So
I think that I'm fascinated with the different service club organizations we have in our town, and we have Kiwanis and the Lions Club and the Women's Club, the Eagles Lodge. I haven't joined a lot of those. I've been busy with other things, but my goal is to one day be part of each of the service clubs. Maybe volunteer at the Pink Ladies Thrift Store, or the Exeter Eagles Ladies Auxiliary, and go on their trips to Ronald McDonald House to help raise money for Ronald McDonald House. And they just do so many good things, all of our service clubs. And I think that I would just like to be part of all of the service clubs.
Nice.
Cool.
And obviously with you being mayor and what you're doing, I think that's commendable. And then, hopefully you'll get to that point where you have the time to be able to do that. What about you, Ben?
Well, to be honest, I manage the shop here, but I think I'd like to do exactly what I'm doing. I enjoy every bit of it, and to be in probably Mark's shoes for a day, to see if you know Mark, his the way he carries himself around here in the community is infectious. He greets everybody as if they were family, and I enjoy that. I think that's what drew me to him and to how this business is growing. And so, like I tell a lot of people, I said that even the new kids that I've hired here, and tell them to pay attention to what we do. It's not just a hobby shop. It's not just a store. It's what we're doing for the community. We're providing an atmosphere. And Mark has shown me that, when people come in the door, he's often given a hug or, a greeting in which you're not accustomed to. And I think it's a testament to what this area is like here. And so, like I said, his mannerisms are infectious to me. Because when people come in here, I try to greet them the same way, and I like that. So I think doing what I'm doing now, and maybe in a different capacity, I think that's what I'd like to do. I'd just like to be in Mark's shoes for one day, kind of relieve him, if you will, because he does get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. But I'd like to see what he goes through in a day and how he keeps that same demeanor every day,
Awesome. I've never had anyone say, I'm going to jump in my boss's shoes. That's cool. That's smart, too. I mean, it is. It's like, how did you build this? I remember, Sandy, when we went to Exeter, I think it was the second time or third time that we'd been through, Sandy, and met Mark and had fun there. And
That was way
fun.
It's
like it's so cool to see the business still flourish,
Yeah.
and watch it, grow. And I know he's been on the show with us, too. And he was just so personable and so community-minded, just like you're saying, Ben.
Yes.
And it was like, we didn't know anything about all these kinds of toys because it's like this cool toy
really
store,
fun.
man. And he was so cool. We took Priscilla, our pink sock monkey, and Walter, when Walter was going around as an ambassador, as a cutout cat. And Walter and Priscilla, we had all these photos of Exeter hobbies, and he was so cool. Like Priscilla, our little sock monkey, she's our travel mascot, could go in any
He let us play dolls.
Yeah, we played dolls with, and it was so much fun. And he was just so, have fun with it, and that's the thing. It's like it is about getting into a community and having that integrity and truth to what you're doing. You don't just go into a community to say, oh, I'm going to come in here and open a business and make money and that's how it's going to be. That's not how it works. And you have to have that vision and the truth and the authenticity behind it. And I think you're right about that. He definitely has that, just from the short time we've been there. It's something that it's like we never forgot Exeter hobbies.
Well, that's
we had
great.
so
Yeah,
much fun there.
Yeah, you don't forget it. So that's a good statement on that. Sandy,
Yes.
Okay, no chamber day for you. Like what's new?
No. Piggybacking on Ben, my thought was I'd like to go and learn about the drone side of Exeter Hobbies. I want to learn more about. I know it has a different name than Exeter Hobbies, but he has gotten very big in the drone world, and he's a photographer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the last couple of years he's done a lot of photography work for our Experience Exeter magazine, and he's just so generous with his time. But I'd like to learn about the drones. They're fascinating to me, so I would want to learn. I think that's where he is now. He's taking a drone down to LA Police Department, I believe. And so he is getting very well known in the world of drones. And I know he's got all kinds of certifications and licenses, and he's told me, but they don't, the details don't stick because it's so unfamiliar to me. But I'd love to learn more about that end of the business and try it out. I'd like to try to fly one. I've never tried, but again, I don't have eye-hand coordination, so that might be an issue. I may just crash
Well, it's a huge deal in photography for everything. I know that photography and film work, it's such a huge deal. And I remember talking to him about that, and when he was, getting into it, he was like, I go here, I go do this, I go do that, and it's like, this is super cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Nancy, it's your time to be the drill master of questions.
Okay, so now, going to Miss Mayor, Teresa.
Yes.
Okay, what is the event that happens in your area that you really have to be at, you cannot miss because you love it so much?
It has to be our fall festival celebration in October. The parade and the day in the park and all of the vendors is just such a fun time. The whole week is fun, and I never miss that.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's an old event, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ben, what about you?
For the past few years, every event that I've been to was great. We often set up a little track for the kids and adults so they can drive the cars around a little bit, kind of introduce them to the hobby. But every time I've gone out, like I said, the community is just very family orientated. Everybody's out there. And it's great. Like the mayor said, the fall festival was a great time. There are little vendors out there, and we're out there. Kids are out there running around. They're playing in the park on bounce houses. So every event that I've been to just really, really been great, and always get a lot of good feedback from a lot of the people I usually tell that come in that are not from the area. And I always tell them, I said, hey, you get a chance, drive up to Exeter, come visit us during one of these events, and you will not be disappointed. And a lot of them have, and a lot of them have really enjoyed themselves as well.
Yeah, because you get to be a kid, and we all want that. What about you, Sandy? What's your best event?
I have to say it's probably the fall festival. I attended it before I started the chamber, and now I know all that goes into planning something of this magnitude. It's a huge undertaking, and so I have a new appreciation for it, but the community just loves it, and that just makes it so worth it. Because there's a lot of work that goes in, lots of volunteer time, and but the community looks forward. They love it. We've added the Scarecrow contest for the month of October. We've have a car show that's part of it now, and last year we added an antique and collectibles fair to the event to help bring, people more downtown so they're not all just stay down at the park, so our businesses get a little bit of recognition as well. But it's a fun day. When my children were young, at that time we had a carnival that was part of it, and I'd take them and they'd go on the carnival rides, and they'd participate in the lip sync contest, and
cool.
There's lots and lots of facets to that. Of course, the Miss Exeter program, and just get to know those fabulous young ladies in high school that all you hear is the bad news about the kids. And let me tell you, we have some girls that come through that program, and I'm just so proud. every year. I can't. I think, oh, this is the best group yet, and then the next group comes along and they're good too. So, yeah, it's a very proud time for the chamber that we are able to do this for the community, and that, of course, we don't do it alone. Lots of volunteers, and of course the city staff has to help, with the road closures and the cleanup and all that fun stuff. They do a lot of the grunt work, and we get the glory. So it's a fun time.
Right on. I know.
Cool.
And scarecrows are involved too. And
I love that. I love the scarecrow thing. Okay, so next question. I'm going to give you a blank check.
Actually, Priscilla, our pink sock monkey, is the one who has the,
so
she's a travel mascot, and she has the money.
It's more of a
she
banana
runs the company.
check.
Yeah. And we're talking to, a bank lady here.
So Teresa, I'm going to give you a blank banana check for you to plan.
Don't look at our Social Security numbers.
Right, so that you can plan the ultimate party. What kind of party would you throw, and where would it be?
I think it would be downtown at our museum and art gallery. On the second floor, they have a party room, and it's the tallest building around in Exeter, and and has a good view. And I probably would have a party there catered by maybe Hometown Emporium or Monet's or one of our restaurants downtown. But yes, my party would be in the above the museum in the party room up there.
And what kind of theme? What kind of party?
Theme?
Yeah, what are you celebrating? What are you
like a New Year's type party. Just celebrate time. And lots of lights and sparkles.
Right on. Okay, over to you, Ben. Same question. What kind of party, and I'm going to give you the money or banana.
Banana money.
Banana money. What kind of party, and where would you hold it?
Well, I think I'd probably do it here. I've always wanted to do this. Mark and I have discussed it on several occasions, just never really pulled the trigger on it. But I like to have like an adult night, or even not even have to be an adult night, but like even like for the young adults here, maybe open up the business, bring in some catering, some drinks, race around the cars, maybe some music, because we do have a large area in the back where the track is. We do have a party room with some games and tables, so we can set some stuff up here. And I think that's what I do. I just, be it if it's an adult party, I'll bring in some microbreweries, get some catering in, maybe from different businesses here, some of the eateries here, some barbecue, some sandwiches, some pizza, just, laid back, everybody have fun, get to race the cars, and just have an enjoyable time, and I could do that for adults and the young adults here in town. And that's something probably in the near future I'm thinking of doing, maybe a Friday or Saturday night once a month for the young adults, of course, and then for the adults, well, they can walk back and forth from here in the Stag, so we're only a block away.
All right on.
That's funny. Okay, Sandy, what about you?
I would like to do a taste of Exeter.
Ooh.
And get all the food from all the different restaurants downtown, because you can't go wrong with having food from any one of our places. I mean, from the simplest to the most extravagant. And I'd love to put one large, not maybe one large table, but all the tables end to end and all the way down East Street there in front of Mixter Park, and everyone just sit down and together and just have a taste of Exeter, experience all that there is to have here, and just celebrate where we're from and a lot of the local fruits and vegetables that they use, and just you know, I mean, we're in the heart of agriculture. I mean, we have beef cattle to all kinds of fruits and vegetables. So we grow it all right here. So why not celebrate that?
That sounds like a good festival.
I love it.
I like that.
I love it. That's cool. So I'm all down for that because I know some of your food and the Mexican food there is some of the best ever.
Oh yeah,
so just saying. And we live on the border, and I'm just saying you got to go to Central Cal. We've got to. I mean, our area. I'm not knocking our area. Tucson's got we got the gastronomy capital of the world, so can't knock that at all because we do. But I mean, some of the Mexican food in your area is so good, and just the local food because it's picked there. It's you know, if you're going to have cheese, get it there because it's there. It's from there. I mean, there's just amazing, amazing food and, you know, regional wines. And, I mean, it's just so amazing. And then you've got the Sequoia National Park to hang out in. So just amazing. So my last thing is I want each of you to finish this sentence. I'm proud of my community because. And so let's start with you, Madam Mayor Teresa Boyce. I'm proud of my community because.
Well, I would have to say because of the people here. We have so many volunteers and helpers who show up for things. When Sandy needs help with the chamber for an event, people show up to help her. They show up to help set up and help clean up. The people in Exeter just care about the community and that's what I'm most proud of.
Even a cat showed up.
I know, Mr. Walter. You can't miss out Mr. Walter.
Yeah,
so
I think
Ben,
he's not so much help.
No, yeah, he likes to steal your champagne when you're doing a radio show and the sirens going off at the same time. I love doing radio shows in Exeter because you never know, and a train could go by too. And you guys have such an old building there, and you've got an old safe, and it's like you're sitting in history and doing this show. It's so amazing. It's like
awesome.
There's nothing like it.
That little paw comes under the door, pulling the wires.
I know. Like this is such a great show. I hope we can stay on air, but it's like you cannot beat doing that. Ben, please finish the sentence. I'm proud of my community because.
I think I had mentioned this earlier. It all started that first day I came to work here, and I walked down that street, and I was greeted as if I lived here forever, and that hasn't changed. I think the sense of family, the values this community holds for each other, and you know, anybody who walks down the street, you, like I said, you feel safe. So I really like that about this area. I really do. It's really, really sets it away from anywhere else I've been, and I've traveled from anywhere from Norway into Alaska to Asia, and you never see this. When you walk down the street and people greet you as if they've known you, it makes you feel good about where you're at. It really does.
For sure.
That's awesome. We understand.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we totally get it.
We totally do. And Sandy, I'm proud of my community because.
I have to just ditto what they're saying, the tremendous generosity of all the people here, not only with their time but with their money. When I'm still so proud of last year when we wanted new Christmas decorations, and one of our residents, Joanne, you met her on one of the mural tours, and she went out and she started asking people for money, and we were able to raise $18,000 to buy new Christmas decorations in like a month and a half.
For the town. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it just,
that's really
that's
awesome.
what I'm talking about. I mean, the generosity of these, the businesses, individuals, it was phenomenal because she wanted the downtown to look pretty, and she did it again to add some garland to the light poles this year, lights and garland. To make them look more pretty, and she even put a pretty chunk of her own money into that because she wanted it so badly. That, I mean, these people here are just amazing, and every time they come through, and I just couldn't be more proud.
We've, you know, our joy as visitors to your community has been that we've received that welcomeness, that hospitality. And I mean, it's like you guys have the signature stamp of hospitality. It's been amazing. We can't wait to come back, and we appreciate all three of you joining us for the show today and sharing your community story, because it is an amazing place. Everyone, you can go to cityofexeter.com. Mayor Teresa Boyce is there. You can go down to the
Yes, I am.
Also, for Exeter Hobbies, we've talked a lot about that. Go to exeterhobbies.com. And for everything to do with Exeter, go to exeterchamber.com. We also cover events, and you can find out a lot of our different stories on the region if you go to nationalparktraveling.com. But we want to thank you, all three of you, for joining us. We appreciate your time and for sharing. And we have a little special Hollywood history segment we're going to air now from Steve Schneikert from back when we were visiting you, Sandy, back in 2013. So we went back into the vault because you have a big vault in your office. It's not like I don't want people to rob you. Like you got that old school safe though, like that old It was was it an
storage?
Old bank?
There's no money in there. It's just
There's
storage.
no money. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. But thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Here it is, everyone. Some Hollywood history of Exeter.
Situated in the middle of California's agricultural heartland, the Great San Joaquin Valley, one of the world's most fertile valleys, Exeter is known for the sweetest supply of citrus, delicious fruits, nuts, and table grapes. The area has scenic beauty and is 30 minutes from the entrance to Sequoia National Park. During the Depression, large numbers of migrants from Oklahoma and Arkansas settled in the city. When you wish upon a star, la-da-dee-dee, dee-dee-da. I left in love, in laughter, and in truth. And wherever truth, love, and laughter abide, I am there in spirit. The Grapes of Wrath, 1940, is director John Ford's most famous black and white epic drama, the classic adaptation of John Steinbeck's 1940 Pulitzer Prize-winning, widely read 1939 novel. Steinbeck was also cited prominently when he won the Nobel Prize in 1962. The title of the novel and film comes from a lyric of the Battle Hymn of the Republic by Julia Ward Howe. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. This film was the most popular left-leaning socialistic theme film of pre-World War II Hollywood. On the screen, the film honestly and realistically recreates the socioeconomic impact of the Great Depression and a mid-30s drought upon one representative family, the Joads. Its theme of an oppressed people's epic move to a new home parallels the biblical story of Exodus. This land is mine, God gave this land to me. Their family name, Jode, also evokes the biblical character of Job. Nunnally Johnson's screenplay is remarkably faithful to its Steinbeck source material. Not present in the novel or the screenplay is a tacked-on ending in the film that optimistically and sentimentally affirms the strength and human dignity of the individual spirit. Fate is kind. She brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of. The plight of the Jode family is universalized as a microcosm of the thousands of other tenant farmers during the country's time of crisis who suffered from oppression imposed by the banks and big mechanized farm interests. The dispossessed migrant families' departure from their windy and dusty land and their slow disintegration provides insight into the thousands of Oklahoma, Colorado, Texas Panhandle, and western Kansas families who were evicted and uprooted from their Dust Bowl farmland and forced to search westward in the inhospitable Eden of California for jobs and survival with thousands of other migrant workers. Filmed in journalistic, documentary-style black and white textures with some low-key lighting, which is provided by a candle or low-light source, is beautifully captured by Greg Toland's expert cinematography. The picture records an astute realism of rural America in the 30s. The musical score by Alfred Newman used variations of Red River Valley to give the film added flavor. Jane Darwell as Ma Jode is marvelous as a strong center and backbone of the migratory family that must leave its ancestral land. And Henry Fonda as Tom Jode is magnificent as an unmercifully harassed Okie who refuses to be beaten and crushed by misfortune. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. The film's themes include the central importance of the family, the suffering and oppression of the farmers, the hollowness of the American dream, the display of human dignity and spirit in the face of adversity, and issues of social and economic justice. Original casting for the film called for Beulah Bondi as Ma Jode. La-da-dee-dee-dee-dee, 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 la-da-dee-dee-dee-dee. James Stewart as Al. Oh, Shenandoah, how much I love you, every stream and every valley. And Walter Brennan as Pa Jode. I want you to meet the family that's known as the real McCoys. There were a total of 7 Academy Award nominations for the film, with 2 wins. Best Supporting Actress Jane Darwell and Best Director John Ford. The other 5 nominations were Best Picture, Best Actor Henry Fonda in one of his greatest roles, Best Screenplay, Best Sound Recording, and Best Film Editing. Thank you, Mr. Steinbeck, for your novel and the inspiration for this film. I am Steve Schneikert, and this is Hollywood History as I recall it.
Everyone, again, that was Steve Schneikert, and you can keep up with his Hollywood history segments. Go to blendradioandtv.com. Just go to our expert department or type in Hollywood history in our search box, and you'll find his various segments over the years. But how cool does just jump into the vault there, Nancy? And,
I like it.
From 2013, when we were over in Exeter again, gateway to Sequoia National Parks and Kings Canyon National Park, and what a good story, again, of, responsible tourism. Using art and parks in their community to attract visitors and have that low footprint, to a community so everybody gets along.
I know, and it's such a beautiful place.
I love that. We're going to continue talking about tourism. As I mentioned earlier in the show, our Parks and Travel magazine, and if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, you'll see we're starting a whole new series on responsible tourism, sustainable tourism, and our next guest is going to talk about that too. And we're very excited about it because it is really about merging communities and having a healthier community as well. It's about people, it's about animals, it's about nature, wildlife, and everybody getting along. So people can travel, enjoy themselves, discover new things, but do it in a good way. And the communities can, say, hey, please come in, but, don't trash my house, man.
Well, you don't need to.
That's exactly it. So stay tuned. We got our friend joining us. So many of you, I'm sure, have seen the photos on Facebook and Instagram, on Twitter, of travelers taking selfies with lion cubs, travelers riding on elephants and camels, thinking this is the thing to do when you go out there, and it's a bucket list thing. Or maybe you're swimming with dolphins, or maybe, you're the one doing it too, thinking it's okay. Apparently, no, it's not that okay for the wildlife. And these activities are not only unnecessary in the tourism industry, but it is harmful to animals and wildlife, and that's honestly, they belong in the wild. That's why they're called wildlife. I'm just saying. Got to say it.
That's a good point.
So, wildlife conservation expert Adam Roberts is joining us back on Big Blend Radio. We call him the compassionate conservationist, and today he's going to talk about what we can do as travelers regarding animal welfare. How do we keep animal welfare in mind? Because a lot of times we don't even really understand we're animal lovers, but because a culture does something doesn't really mean that we need to do that too. So he's going to talk about that, and also about a new tourism consultancy that works in partnership with travel businesses, not-for-profit organizations, and governments so that tourism brings greater protection to animals, their natural environments, and the people that depend upon them. And, I was researching this today, and it looks like actually the economic benefits for tourism would be greater if we didn't harm animals or put them in reach of our hands. Or maybe the selfies with lion clubs. So everybody, blendradioandtv.com, that's where we'll find Adam and his past interviews with us as well. But Adam, welcome back to the show, and Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year to you. Good evening. I'm doing very, very well, except I'm in Washington, D.C., which means I'm constantly bombarded by bad news. So I'm trying to be at peace with it all.
I know, man. It's like, I don't know, but everywhere around the country and around the world, we're all dealing with it. It just seems like, but can we take people's buttons away? Like, I'm just saying, can we undo the button and undo some things that need to be undone, and some things are not doing well for our public lands, definitely, and in so many ways, oil and gas leasing, extra hunting that maybe doesn't need to happen in wildlife management. And then you've also got, 19 out of 32, I don't know if I'm getting the numbers right, of the advisory board of the National Parks Service walking out. So there seems to be a lot of things happening for our wildlife in this country. So I wouldn't want to be in Washington, D.C. Do you ever get scared?
It's interesting. I mean, I am scared thinking about all the things you just talked about, sort of the planet that we're going to leave to our children if this goes on much longer. And it's interesting doing this show now and talking about what we're talking about with, as you mentioned, the news that the National Park System Advisory Board is losing fundamentally almost all of its members because they're so fed up with a Secretary of the Interior who refuses to even meet with them over the course of a year. And, of course, why would he take recommendations about what to do with national lands when he and the administration are already hell-bent on doing things like reducing the size of national monuments in Utah and such? So, it's kind of an all-out assault on national parks and national lands, which makes me, scared and sad, but also makes me emboldened to not only want to do more to help and make sure that Americans and people from everywhere around the world are coming to visit, these amazing natural places that we have, but also makes me, quite frankly, want to redouble my commitment to getting out and seeing these magnificent wild places. You guys, you travel so much around the country and get to see all these places and broadcasts from all of these wonderful natural places that we have around the country. But it's been making me think a lot today, and then over the past few days especially, about the need for all of us to try and get out and show with our tourism dollars that these places are incredibly valuable in their pristine state.
This is so important too. We look at that they're threatened, in so many ways, and we've doubled down on our nationalparktraveling.com website, even giving free page listings to nonprofits and to chambers and visitor bureaus and things, so people can have that direct access. Because we believe that the community and the parks have to be united. I know we've talked about that on the shows before, but I think that's going more into what we're going to talk about today on how we can, look at what we're doing when we go to a community. Because whatever we do to an animal is going to hurt the people and vice versa. And
right.
So there's that. But the other thing I just want to touch on with the public lands is to get out, yes. and 2/3 of our national park system is historic, and they're also under threat. And I challenge anybody to go to a national park unit and tell me you didn't learn anything about nature, or vice versa, you didn't learn about history. Each one has both those elements, and it's learn and play, right? And there's the issue too is climate change, which we have been just knocking down, and a lot of our areas are getting, the wildfires have been crazy in the West, California, Montana, just really, really we got it out here in Arizona pretty bad, and the hurricanes and things like that. So the weather patterns are going worse, and so when we also look at management and look at these lands, we need to look at these lands are going. We need to look at that as well, because it's happening. And these places are going to start to diminish. Before we even get into the animal part, I wanted to ask you: isn't it 50% that of like the wildlife we've lost that over the last 10 years or 20 years or something? There's like a statistic of that, like 50 or 75%. We've lost huge amounts of our wildlife in actual species over the last 20 years. And I'm wondering, like, where do we go from here? We need to really look at every single animal as being absolutely important, not just the big five,
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's a combination of factors. So you mentioned climate change, and of course, the way to balance the ecological systems is to again keep these places pristine. That's the best way to keep the ecology in balance. And the more that we industrialize and pollute and destroy these natural places, the worse off the environment and therefore the climate is going to be, and that's incredibly dangerous for wild animals and of course for people as well. And then the second part, in terms of what you mentioned with the loss of wildlife, is that you have this dramatic commodification of wildlife that's happened over the past 20 or 30 years, where there's literally a price on the head of every wild animal by sport hunters. Wild animals are trapped for their fur; they're exploited in so many different ways, and their habitat is depleted. And so you have this all-out assault on wild animals all across the globe, but definitely throughout the United States. And that does mean that wildlife populations are going to decline and that species are going to go extinct. And, of course, the more that human-made factors result in wildlife disappearing, the more the ecosystem goes out of balance. And, again, that's really bad for everyone because, the planet is incredibly fragile. It's resilient, but it's also fragile. And we really need these ecosystems, I think, to stay in balance.
Yeah, one of the things we tend to forget when we talk about business and tourism dollars and such is that how big a factor wildlife is. Because I know that our national parks, our BLM land, our state parks that harbor plants and animals in safety are a huge draw and a huge factor for economic benefit to all the surrounding communities. And, sometimes it's so easy because the American cry is create jobs, create jobs, create jobs. But they seldom take a look at what kind of jobs where and how does that affect a community. For example, gas and oil, create jobs. Let's go for coal, create jobs. But then you have this thing with, I think I want to call it, put all your eggs in one basket. So a company comes into a town, and it's a mining company, and they mine until it's too expensive to mine anymore, and then they close down, and everybody just sitting there looking around going, now what? As opposed to if they're right next to any kind of natural area where people will come in with the tourism dollar. That doesn't happen because when you look at tourism dollars, it's spread out with restaurants, hotels, attractions, events. And so there's all kinds of jobs. It's not all dependent on one company. And that's where I think people kind of forget or don't see that the tourism dollar, how important it is. One of the biggest industries in the world. It's so important, and it is balanced with coming to see something natural, something that you can't see where you live over there. You want to see something different. And when you have a mining company or gas and oil feuds and all that, you not only do you not see anything worth seeing, they destroy the thing that will keep your community sustainable
and healthy.
And and that's what the tourism dollar is so important if it's done responsibly and sustainably. In wildlife, natural habitat is a huge part of it, because that's what gives you something different, as well as your history of your community. So you shouldn't be tearing down all those old historic buildings either.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I think to that, it's a question of, as a society with government policy, do we want to have short-term fixes or long-term sustainable objectives? Because the short-term fix is very easy. We can open up all of the coastlines of this country to drilling and do offshore drilling, and we can mine and drill all across the country, and that may provide a short-term fix, a short-term economic fix, a short-term employment fix. But that's not sustainable. I mean, forget the dangers to the environment, forget the dangers to the wildlife and to people. All of that, of course, exists. And at any point in time, mines can go wrong, oil spills happen. All of that is risky. But in the long term, you're just destroying the environment. The resources will expire. And then you're left with the wreckage of what you've wrought, as opposed to thinking long-term about building sustainable economies around sustainable businesses, which are still economically profitable, but are economically profitable in perpetuity as opposed to in the short term. And you're exactly right when you talk about the value of tourism. We've seen it time and time again that when we have respectful, responsible, compassionate tourism, it is going to mean that people can come see the same elephant year after year after year. But when you kill an elephant, when you have consumptive tourism, then that elephant is gone from that community, and that's that. Can't ever come back. So I think we have to take a very long view, which of course is not the MO of what we're dealing with currently, in the administration. Everything is about short-term fixes and stock market gains, but we really have to push as a citizenry for this long-term view that's going to provide measurable and tangible results for years to come.
And I think it's true. You've got your community, but then as a traveler, we need to look at going in and not bringing in toxic things into it. All these park rangers we've interviewed, I mean, it got right down to it. We've got an interview coming up, and it's soon for everyone to hear. We have to record them with our park rangers because their schedules are off the hook crazy now, because there's so few. Just saying. Anyway, we were talking about bats. And you know how we love bats, Adam. Anyway, so we were talking about bats and this whole issue of bats in the daylight and hunting at daylight and what's going on here and there. And she was talking about this fungus, white fungus or something?
Yeah, white nose
fungus. Yeah. And she was talking about how it's from travelers. And the fact is, when we go into a national park, clean your backpack off, clean the bottom of your shoes, clean it off. Wipe it down before you go in. Throw that cloth away. Don't bring it into the park. And so when we talk about sustainability, a lot of times it's like, hey, don't take your big gassy truck into a park. We think about those things. Don't leave plastic things around, and don't have these one-off plastic things that people use. Don't have plastic water bottles. Actually use something recyclable. All these things we can do. Maybe take public transportation when you're traveling. So there's all these things we can do as sustainability. But now we're actually down to this point of you need to clean your stuff before you walk into a park, because we're contaminating the wildlife. And this is where we're at this point. And so to me it was blowing my mind, and we'll be airing this soon, everyone. But that's when we think about travelers, there's a community setting up, the parks battling it. There's this community connection to the parks, whether it's a state park, the BLM land, it's all important. I don't care. It's a forest. It's all important. But as travelers, there's things we can do. And, there's so many people we've had on shows. We've talked to friends. They're like, oh, when we went to Asia, we rode an elephant. It was like this, big thing. It's the obligatory thing to do. And take that photo, put it up on Instagram. And I did it. And then it gets to this point of like, okay, well, what are we doing? This is the thing that we've seen in, magazines years ago, and now we've changed. So we don't have that many elephants, so maybe we have to slow down. We have to look at how we travel.
Right. Right. And I think, but again, I think it's exactly right. It also comes back, I think, to what I was just saying about these short-term fixes, that, we have this idea that we deserve some sort of gratification, and that could come by elephant-back safari, or diving with sharks, or swimming with dolphins, or petting a lion cub, as you mentioned in the introduction, or, taking a picture with a chimpanzee in Cancun. There are all of these methods by which human travelers, tourists, get that short-term fix, get that immediate fix, and that immediate gratification. And I've realized, having sort of some distance from all of this work now for the past year, that, the story you can tell is just as exciting without that fix. So many of the stories that I tell about animal exploitation that I've seen around the world, which we, definitely can get into, those are sad stories. And I am so glad that I'm at least enlightened enough not to have been a part of it. But I look back to going to India, where I've been twice, to do work about tigers, including a CNN show about tigers. And in neither time out in the forests of India did I see a tiger. And that was disappointing. Of course, I would have loved to have seen a wild tiger, but I realized that, it's a privilege to see a wild tiger. It's not a right. And the fact that I didn't see a wild tiger doesn't really change my stories about India, but for one line. I could say, and I saw a wild tiger and it was amazing, or, I went 2 times, I can't believe it, I didn't see a tiger. I did a whole show about tigers. I didn't even see a tiger. There's still a story to tell.
Can I just say, dude.
Yeah, exactly. But when I was there, I distinctly remember that question being asked, should we go out on elephant back because you have a better chance of seeing a tiger? And of course, for us, the answer was immediate. There's just no way we're doing that. We're not going to exploit Asian elephants for the sake of seeing Asian tigers. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it to destroy these animals' lives, to make it harder on them, to exploit them in that kind of negative way, just for our own gratification, when there is so much amazing stuff to see in the world and to be a part of and to experience in a respectful and responsible way. You just don't have to do that kind of exploitative activities.
Well, I think that's something Nancy and I learned on the tour. As we traveled the country going in the national parks, and when we did it full time, and now that we've come home, we're still now doing big road trips. We've got epic things planned this year. We're going to Louisiana and Kentucky and back up to Sequoias and all kinds of places. But when we set out, when we went to the parks, and now I'm so glad we did what we did, because now we're able to really see what is needed to gel the communities and the parks and the travelers and make that like, okay, now we see what's going on. And now it's like a fire under our butt, quite frankly. Like we need to haul, because time is of the essence, and people do need to go there, and we need to have it balanced out. Our thing is, we don't want people in the parks all the time. We want them in the parks, then go midweek, light footprint, then go into the downtowns and go experience small town America. Go to a real restaurant, not with McDonald's arches on it. Sorry, but it's true. Do the real thing. But when we were there, just even in our videos, now we've changed our platform. We wanted to go in and make the epitome of this is this park. Every little thing that you could see in Sequoia National Park, we want in the video. We want everything in there, right? And so we kept going back in, because it was like, it is like a drug, You just keep going back in and keep going back in and keep going back in, and you're never going to see everything. And when you're never, and we learned that because we got excited, and we're used to, like, nature is like a daily thing for us, and it just. That is a big lesson for us, just as a company trying to do the right thing. We still want to see everything, but you can't. And the reality is, coming back and looking at the footage we have, I could sit there every day on Instagram and never end on what I have and of what I don't know what I filmed and learn about it. Every leaf has a story to tell about a bug, and then what ate the bug, and then, that whole web of life. Every living little thing that you see has a story, and there's a lot of human history that goes with that too, and it's so fascinating. And that's, I think, where we need to go as a society, is look at actually what do we have on our doorsteps, what good can we find, and what can we build on that too as a long-term thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
I think when you are paying to travel, you want to see something unique and different. I don't think a zoo over here is any more different or unique than the zoo over there. I think that what is unique is the actual natural plants and animals in a different place at a different time. And those things, you have to guard and protect them. That's different. In riding an elephant, or one time in South Africa, we went to an ostrich farm, and I think I've told you this story before, but I was so amazed. First of all, okay, there's a lot of ostrich. You see the eggs and how the ostriches were being farmed and raised. It was very educational and different and weird. And then I didn't know they were going to do this, but they had an ostrich race, and they took people out of the crowd who were willing to sit on the ostrich back and race. And there was a really plus-size woman who sat on this ostrich who just closed his eyes and bent down to the ground because she was so much heavier than what this poor, and ostriches are not weak, could handle. And then he tried to stand up and he couldn't, and then he got whipped for not being able to stand. Now, our group walked out at that because that is not something we wanted to see. It was horrific. And so I think there are some things where people think it's a plus for tourism. It totally isn't. I'm sticking on the tourism dollar because, I personally believe that you should be able to protect animals and plants just because they're there and they're beautiful, whether or not you make money off them. But my years in the tourism industry has shown me that you need to put a dollar value before somebody cares somehow. So I'm just going to stick with the tourism dollar, that you can lose tourism by doing the wrong thing with your plants and animals and how you treat them, and you can gain the tourism dollar if you protect your plants and animals.
Yeah, and I think as people become more educated about these issues and more enlightened about these issues, that becomes increasingly the right perspective that people will have. When we see these kinds of things, the ostrich racing that you mentioned, which is of course ridiculous. I remember in Thailand going to tiger zoos and outside of Bangkok, and they have Asian elephants performing, and people sit in these amphitheaters and they watch elephants playing musical instruments in a band and playing basketball, and then they pull people out of the stands to lie down in front of the elephants, and the elephants pretend like they're giving them a Thai massage. And of course, I think, my God, that's got to be nerve-wracking to be underneath this elephant's foot. One wrong move and you're crushed. But it's horrible for the animals. It's so horribly exploitative, and people, they go to those things because they're just not aware. And so I think it's really important for people to be educated about what they're going to do before they go do it. When you're going on a vacation, when you're planning a vacation, make sure you actually take the time, obviously, to do the research to know what you're doing and what the impacts are. Is it something that you should do or something you think you should do because it seems, elephant back safari, for example, like something you should do, and test it out. Make sure that do the research. Make sure that you're not exploiting animals in wild places in a horrible way. I think that's part of it, and then also realizing that there is so much amazing wildlife tourism and wild tourism out there, places to go, things to see, that simply don't involve that kind of exploitation. Living in the local communities, visiting the local communities, as you were talking about, the local restaurant versus the McDonald's, that is the kind of immersive tourism that's really important, but also compassionate and leaves a low footprint. So people just have to be more aware of that. But the other thing I want to say about that is not only about individuals doing the research before they do the trip. It's about the tourism companies, the travel agents that people work with, being enlightened and learning about these issues and making sure that they're not directing people to swim with the dolphin programs and other exploitative adventures. And that's really important. That's a responsibility of the industry to make sure that they're not directing people to these really bad attractions.
You have to look at who you partner with. And I think that's what I want to go to, this new tourism consultancy, and you get to say the name because I have like 10 different ways. I do. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm leaving it for Adam. I did it at the beginning of the show, and then I'm like, okay, like, you know. But what I think is so interesting, and I watched a video, you know, of the launch of this industry, this organization, which I think is so important because I remember, was it a year ago, Adam, you were on the show, maybe 6 months ago, and TripAdvisor was, you know, showcasing, you know, ride an elephant, and you know, everybody was like, no, you know, screw you. Sorry, I have to say it because it's true. But don't do that. You know, those who have really traveled and saw the other side, and some of the, this is the thing, it's about these, exactly what you're saying, about these tourism organizations coming in and thinking they have a good partner. And the thing is, a tourist sometimes goes into a town and they're like, oh my gosh, I see an elephant, and it's the first time they've seen it. You see a sequoia tree and you're in awe, you know, and then you hug it, and then maybe people carve their name in it thinking this is okay. No, it's not. The plant, the tree feels it. You stop it. Same thing, and you're in awe, but then you don't know what harm you're doing, and maybe not recognizing a good from a bad. You know, you don't know if you've never been in that country. You don't know, you know. So I think it's really about the organizations like TripAdvisor. They did stop it as far as I know, and I think it's, you know, the public needs to be aware as much as they can, but it is those actual organizations. Who are you promoting? And that's where this tourism consultancy, I think this is so cool. And I'm going to say the website is IMONDIAL, so .com. So tell us the name, Adam.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, I'm an English speaker. I'm monolingual. I hate that fact. I wish I hadn't grown up that way. But anyway, it's Animondial, which I think literally translated means animals of the world. And it's really sort of looking at just that, animals all over the world and what our impact is when we're tourists. On these animals, and how can we bring compassion to tourism? And as you say, it's this really amazing new consultancy that's been set up just to do the very things we've been talking about, to sort of say that there are practical solutions out there that will benefit tourism, benefit people, benefit local economies, benefit national economies and business, but also have a very low footprint on animals and make sure that tourism is compassionate. And I think you have, you know, situations where a lot of these tourism agencies, these tour operating associations, you know, they sort of go through the motions, right? They do the same thing. We're going to the Caribbean, we're doing Swim with the Dolphin programs, that sort of thing, because there hasn't historically been anyone, you know, there have been campaigns against that kind of activity, but there's no concerted effort to bring all the stakeholders together to say that, you know, we need to get the travel businesses and the non-governmental organizations and the government stakeholders and the people on the ground all together to say, how can we create the highest standards possible to ensure that any tourism that's happening that involves animals is compassionate. And of course, you know, I think we have to just make sure as we talk about this sort of stuff that, you know, animal-based tourism is not inherently bad, right? There's animal tourism that is exploitative in a bad way, and animal tourism that's exploitative in a perfectly good way. It all depends on, you know, whether you have the sensibility going in. You know, you don't want wild animals to be captive. You don't want wild animals to be tormented. It's you know, the old Masai Mara example, you know, where you've got these jeeps that are racing after, you know, cheetahs or lions or other animals in the Masai Mara, as opposed to just sort of jeeps that are sitting back and watching from a healthy distance. Or the same goes with whale watching, right? You don't want to chase the whales and run the risk of having whale strikes with your boat. You want to watch whales from a respectable distance. So there is a way to, quote unquote, exploit wildlife, but do so in a compassionate and humane way. And so this consultancy, Animondial, has set forth starting in England, but they'll expand throughout Europe and eventually to America, just to do that very thing, to say, you know, we need to make sure that tour operators and the associations of tour operators all understand these very intricate, detailed issues and pay attention to them, and only have participation by travel companies, tour operators, and industry associations that adhere to these high standards. And I think little by little, I do believe that you're going to start to see this more and more. You know, you're going to start to see the Expedias of the world and other, you know, tour operators and travel agencies start to focus on these issues because they know, as we discussed earlier, long term it's in their economic interest to do so, that
right.
people really will, you know, just as they seek cruelty-free cosmetics and humanely raised foods, they're going to start to seek out compassionate travel.
I was going to say, is this going to be similar to, I know over the years you've talked about the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, and it's like this organization you can go to, and like people say you're a sanctuary, and then, you know, an animal sanctuary, you go there to either donate, maybe go to an event, or maybe you're allowed to view the animals, or, you know, and then there's the ones that say they're a sanctuary, and it's the Tony the Tiger who did pass, and now they want to get a new one. Unfortunately, in Louisiana, that's, you know, at a gas station, and they call themselves a sanctuary. So there's those two things, and so is this kind of going to work in that way where people can look up at some point, you know, is this a place that is a no-no on the list versus a okay place to go, and you know, that kind of thing, like the sanctuaries where you can figure out who is a good person and who's a bad, who's evil and who's not.
Yeah, exactly right. It's the exact right analogy. You know, with GFAS, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, one can always know that if a sanctuary is GFAS accredited and has the GFAS stamp of approval, that seal means that they're a sanctuary that doesn't exploit animals for profit, that doesn't let animals leave the property, that doesn't sell animals, breed animals, etc., that it's a true sanctuary as opposed to some backyard breeder who calls himself a sanctuary as a way of getting money from the public. With Animal Mondial, it's the exact same thing, where over time you're going to start to know that when you're booking your holidays and you want to decide which tour operator, which travel agent, which travel company to use, you know, see if they have been working with Animal Mondial to make sure that the excursions they promote are going to be compassionate ones for animals, and make sure that when you're booking holidays and you're going to a certain location, if they have animals, are those animals treated well? Is it wild and respectful, or is it, you know, just another roadside zoo or negatively exploitative situation? Looking for Animal Mondial's stamp of approval, if you will help you figure out, you know, what to do along the way. And I think, you know, again, this is going to be, I think, a long process as we change people's thinking about these kind of endeavors to get away from going to, you know, the zoo in Bangkok and seeing the elephant performance, or going to the swim with the dolphins or swim with the sharks or any of these exploitative things. You know, it's going to take time for people to start going on excursions, on holidays where they don't have these kind of animal experiences, and realize that they're just as amazing and exciting, and doesn't leave you with that icky feeling because you just took a picture for $1 on the streets of Cancun with a chained chimpanzee. And over time, people will realize that, and given the world that we live in, everyone else will realize that too, because it'll go straight on social media, it'll go on TripAdvisor, it'll go on, you know, all of these different websites. And I think more and more you're going to start to see people actually seek that out. You know, is this a travel company I want to go with? And one of the reasons that I'll be making that decision is, how do they treat animals? Do they promote, you know, excursions that exploit animals in a bad way? And if they do, then, you know, that's not a company I want to go with. So from the corporate perspective, from the business perspective, people are going to, I think, yearn for this kind of involvement, this stakeholder involvement, and this involvement from Animal Mondial, because they know they're going to want to bring in business from people who want to go on holidays that don't harm animals.
I was looking at their website, and everybody, again, Animondial, did I say that correctly, .com? And I was looking at some of the you know, we're going to be featuring them up on nationalparktraveling.com and in Park and Travel magazine, and they said that there was a survey done, a Comrade survey through Born Free Foundation, 2017, and they said that they did this whole survey about, you know, the risks and the tourism regarding to tourism activities involving animals. 49% of the respondents confirmed that their enjoyment of a holiday would be reduced if they observed animal abuse during their stay, how it ruins it. And then 71% said they would more likely buy holidays from travel companies that care for animals. And so I think people love animals. You know, we want to see horses, we want to see the camels, we want to see the ostrich. They do love animals. They don't want to see the abuse. And there's the wildlife side of it with the ostriches, but then there's also things like just horse riding. And I want to bring that up. You know, we know people that do horse riding that is completely healthy, clean. It's about safety for the animals, safety for the people. And then there's these companies that, oh my God, these horses need to be fed, and what are you doing? You know, so there's the rides that people take downtown on a horse and carriage. Like, I mean, New York, come on. I mean, what they've been doing. So, like, is this going to look at that too? I mean, because that is kind of what's going on in some countries is that too. You know, I think, you know, horses, there's a connection, American connection, but there's a responsibility. So where I'm going with this, is there going to be some way down the road, because I know this has just started up and has, you know, really a good path forward and a lot of good backers and tourism associations behind it, especially in England. Will they look at working with these organizations to better them if they're not good, or say you need to close down, or kind of get in that zone, or is it just ignore them if they're bad?
Yeah, no. So I think it's two things in response to that. One is to the latter part of your question. There will always be an emphasis on trying to improve standards, right? You have to improve the standards and then enforce those standards. So, you know, the first part is to say, you know, here are the ways that travel companies should operate. Here are the types of excursions that are no-go areas and ones that are acceptable. And then enforcing that, making sure that these companies are not sending people to these excursions that are harmful to animals. And so you have to make sure that happens and try and get to these people, get to these companies to let them know what's good and what's bad. Because, again, you know, if the average consumer is yearning to go swim with dolphins and the businesses are providing it, you know, they might not have an impetus to get too in the weeds about, you know, what's happening on the ground and how bad is it. You know, they just think, well, we'll seek out what seems like a quote-unquote reputable business and we'll partner with them so that people can get the kind of animal experience they're asking for. But when the standards are set and people start to see that and they know that they might lose business because they're not adhering to those standards, then I think things will change. On the first part about the horse riding and such, I think that's the next step in all of this, is to not only first come up with these operational or industry-based standards about good excursions versus bad ones, but then secondly to really drill down on a species-specific level and say, you know, when we're dealing with horseback riding, here are the things that become environmental enrichment for horses, and that's good for the animals, and here are the things that are no-go areas, the bad type of exploitation, the things that are harmful for these animals, what to look for, and the same will go for any number of other species as well. You know, you really need to know, you know, what's a respectable distance to watch a whale, for example. So I think that is something that's going to have to be looked at over time, is when we talk about these animal attractions and animal-based tourism, you know, what is it from the animal's perspective that is needed so that those animals are not harmed in any way by tourism, and how do we provide that in a measurable way?
Right.
I think it's interesting that we're so fascinated by animals that we really want to go see them and get close to them. Obviously, that's why people go to zoos. They want to go see the animals so badly that they're willing to go see them while they're locked up, even though they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't rob a bank or anything like that. They didn't do anything but just be who they are, but they're locked up. But there's a fascination that you want to go see these animals so bad. So if you can think to why you want that connection, would you not rather see or have the chance of a glimpse of an animal in the wild being its own self as opposed to one who's locked up for your benefit. Because what animal are you trying to see? Because an animal locked up in the zoo is nothing like an animal in the wild who gets to be free and who
there's such joy just watching.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just such a joy.
And maybe you go out in the wilderness and you don't see the animal, like you didn't see the tiger, but that's really not that. Is it going to be substituted for you by going to a zoo and seeing one caged up that you know is now miserable and caged up just for you and for money? I mean, and it's not a real tiger physically. I can't even say that with honesty. It's not a real tiger.
No,
it's not a tiger because in the wild they don't look like what animals look like in a zoo. They don't act the same. They're pretty much psychotic in zoos, especially monkeys go really crazy. Yeah, so what are you really seeing? You're not really seeing the animal you are hoping and wishing and praying to see.
That's right, and fundamentally on that, I would say there are three types of people in the world. There are people who understand everything that you just said. People who would never go to do any of these kinds of horrible things that involve animals on their holiday because they know it's grotesque and they don't want any part of it. And then there are people who just don't care, right? There are people who want to pet a tiger cub or have an opportunity to pay a couple of bucks and feed a bottle to a baby tiger. And they're just going to do it because they want it, because it's exciting, because the animal's cute, and they really don't care. And then there's a really, really important third group of people, which are the people who don't know. They don't know any better, right? There are plenty of people who go to zoos because they think it's good for education, because they think they're learning, or they go to a petting zoo. All of these kinds of activities that people do while on holiday or for a good day out on a Saturday afternoon because they just don't know. And so that's where I think we have this amazing opportunity to educate folks and then let them make an informed decision, right? And so, part of it is educating the tour operators, the travel companies. Part of it is educating people directly, but also through the tour companies. They may say, I want to go on holiday to the Caribbean, and, here are the things I want to do on my vacation. And you have a travel agent that says, actually, we won't do this. We won't do the, get you photographs with a chimpanzee on the street because that's not good for the animals. And I can't imagine that most people are going to say, well, then forget it. I'll go find somebody who will. It actually might spur something, and then that says, oh, wow, I never even thought about that. And then, you reach somebody. Yeah.
I think it's really important that it comes from the industry. The major tourism. And I was watching some of the people talking, like, Virgin, the responsibility officer of Virgin, tourism. And I'm like, wow, Virgin Air doing their tours and everything. But I was like, wow, these major organizations are stepping up. And I thought that was really incredible to see, because I think we are in the era of corporations. There's a bunch of really bad ones, and I could give you a list right now, and some of them start in the tech industry. But,
Hello,
I won't
Microsoft.
go there. And don't start me on the stock industry, too. I know, Microsoft. Thank you for wiping everything off my computer. Anyway, just had to put that out there. Why not? But anyway, no. But these organizations, we are in this world of, number one, a lot of smaller independent companies that do travel-related industry stuff. I think that travel writers are a huge part of what should be part of this program, because they go and experience and write about it, and they're the mouthpiece. They need to be part of this in a big way.
Exactly.
Obviously the destinations themselves, but these major corporations that are in tourism, that to me is it's right there saying, okay, we're taking responsibility. And when a corporation does that, then you know what, their clients are going to listen. They are. And I think it's exactly what you're saying, that twofold education. All I can say about everything that's going on in the world right now is it's a lack of education on all levels. and it's time to step up to the education plate, no matter what it is, whether it's climate change, animal abuse, how you travel, sustainability, do you have solar versus coal? All of that is about education. And we need to raise the platform for our kids. The youth need to know now. And it seems very long-term. We talked about long-term versus short-term. But if we don't start really focusing on education in a bigger way, that it is actually number one on all of our programs of life. Like you wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to learn today? That is where we need to be.
Short-term is
chaos management.
It's chaos, and it is not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do a little bit of both, but
but if you don't back it up with something sustainable, you lost anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Wow. I like this, Adam. This is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Animondial. I'm going to get it right. Animondial. ANIMONDIAL.com. Everyone, go connect with that. I mean, this is brand new, and like you're saying, it's based in England, right? They started over there with ABTA, and that's really the big British Tourism Association. And so for them to come together with this, I think that's pretty amazing. England is doing some cool stuff in animal welfare. I'm just saying, from what I've seen lately. They're doing some
and I think
things.
we'll follow. If you've got the British travel agents that are working on this and establishing guidelines for travel and tourism that relate to compassion, I think eventually, the U.S. tour operators are going to follow, and hopefully it'll just go global, and it'll do so rapidly.
Excellent.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for letting us know about this. We're excited about it. Anything that can be towards sustainable, responsible tourism, we're for, and we appreciate knowing more about it. Again, everyone, Adam, he's an advisor on this, on Animondial. I'm going to say this all night long.
Excellent.
I want to be part of Animondial. Sorry, I like it. I know. But anyway, go to animondial.com. But blendradioandtv.com, you can see Adam in our expert department and listen to his past interviews. That really, this is really exciting, quite frankly, Adam. I mean, we look at all the negative stuff, but isn't this this is the step forward? This is it. I mean, this will end up being like, okay, really, are you going to be the tourism group that allows, someone to, sport hunting? Look at what's happening with the elephant trophy thing on CNN now, too. It's like, what? So, I'm just saying, this is
exactly,
and
it's also. Sorry, I think the other thing that's important about this is it's thinking outside the box a little bit. We've been campaigners for decades and trying to get people to do the right thing, but you also have to think about things from an economic perspective and an industry perspective, and that's where this kind of project, I think, is really important.
Well, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and
thank you.
Everyone, animondial.com, check it out, and everybody in the tourism industry, get on board with this, and we want to continue the conversation with this and keep moving forward with this so people as it moves forward, because I think there's a lot of people that can be connected here in the States, and everywhere we talk, we'll just keep talking, Adam, because we're going to.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
All right, you take care. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, have a great weekend when it comes.
You too. And a Bloody Mary. All right.
Bye.
Bye. I love when Adam comes on our shows. We could just say exactly what we want for animals.
I know.
Which we don't have a problem saying, really. But
if you love animals, why would you do anything that would ever hurt them?
But it is education, because a lot of times it was like, oh, this is educational travel, and this is riding on an elephant is okay, and that this is okay to do. So it's a education process of knowing what happens to these amazing animals that we have. Okay, so we have a world traveler joining us next.
Okay.
Educator and a singer-songwriter.
I like it.
And a woman in business.
I like that.
Who created a kick-ass product. It's a luxurious silk hypoallergenic travel sheet, and especially made for women. Though
nice.
Dudes would like it too, just saying. But yeah, I love this. Brave Era, everybody. Go to braveera.com right now, and we're going to bring her on. But I want to play her music because, anybody in music out there, we got to play the music. And it's good, and she's got an incredible voice. So I want to play In Your Hands, one of her songs. So you can go to her website for music, too. It's aldenmusic.com. But here it is, In Your Hands. And then we're going to talk about her world travels and, starting a company, doing your own thing and creating something in the tourism world and actually manufacturing a product and something that is really awesome for women. And all I can say is I love my travel sheet. No one take it away. But here it is, In Your Hands. Enjoy.
Bend me, fold me, twist me, hold me, with hands on my neck, you told me, I just wanna watch you move. I'm in your hands. Keep me, own me, break me slowly. Whatever you want from me, I'll give to you. I'm in your I'm in your hands. Do what you want with me now that you own me. Do what you want with me. Now that you own me, do what you want with me. Do what you want with me. Now that you own me, do what you want with me. Do what you want with me. Now that you own me, do what you want with me. Bend me, fold me, twist me, hold me, with hands on my neck, you told me, I just wanna watch you.
Everyone, you're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, and you just heard In Your Hands by Nicole Alden, and you can go to aldenmusic.com. And Nicole is a world traveler. She's an educator, a singer-songwriter, as you can hear, amazing. And, here's the deal. We met her because she created a luxurious silk hypoallergenic travel sheet that we love. It's called Brave Era. Go to braveera.com right now. And she created it especially for women, though I know some men who like the little silkiness. But we're really happy to have her join us on Big Blend Radio today to talk about her travels, creating Brave Era, this amazing travel sheet, and, of course, her music. Nicole, how are you?
How are you, Lisa and Nancy? So nice to talk to you.
You too. You too. Number one, can I just say badass singer, man? This is amazing. It's
Thank you.
hey, we want to bring you on to talk about your travel sheet, but hey, I got some music too. Really? Wow. Does everything you do, is it all that good? I mean, it's amazing.
That's funny. Well, you had mentioned you were in the music industry, so that's why we connected on that. So I was excited to share that with you.
Yeah. I'm really appreciative because it's so cool to play it on the radio show today, and your voice is so dynamic, and your music, the lyrics, the melody, everything is so dynamic, and I think that ties into your travel sheet, is that comfort, and you want people to be comfortable, and someone listening to music has to have that feeling. Tell us about how you decided a travel sheet, because I think this is ingenious. When I heard about it, I was like, oh, we have to have one of those, because I'm one of those people who just don't do really well in a lot of hotel rooms, because I'll wake up in the morning, I'll have bumps all over me, and it's really, I think, the detergent most of the time. But I also think because it's kind of like a little, it's like a sheet sleeping bag, that's even super cool if you're hiking and you're in Costa Rica, or you're in the desert or something like that.
Definitely. Actually, yeah, of course, anyone, male or female, can use the travel sheet, but women tend to get way more excited about it. I think because we do care a little bit more about comfort. I know a lot of guys who would be fairly comfortable sleeping on a pile of sticks and not complain about it camping or something, but I'm definitely not in that category. Growing up, my mom used to, and I love that you guys are a mother-daughter team. I think that's so awesome. I'm really close with my mom, too.
Cool.
And growing up, my mom used to joke that I was the princess and the pea. I don't know if you remember that old story.
Yes.
But for those who don't remember, right, it's the princess, now I'm going to have trouble recalling it, but they were trying to figure out who the princess was, and the only way they were going to be able to tell was by putting this tiny pea under a bunch of stacks of mattresses, right? So, and the true princess would be able to tell and not be able to sleep from sheer discomfort from that one little pea. And for better or for worse, I guess I've always been that.
Yes,
that level.
Nancy. See, Nancy's like that about where she sleeps, but I'm like that about the linens, because, it's like, to me, it's got to do with detergent for me. I'm sorry, but hotels, we've been talking about sustainable tourism on this show all day, and I just want to say, can you stop it? But it's okay. I don't have to tell you anymore, because I can take my travel sheet, my Brave Era, and say, I can go anywhere and be comfortable. Well, no, because it's a big deal, and I think these sleeping bags, that's one of the things we've had a problem with, is you go in a sleeping bag.
It's hot.
And I don't know if I'm reaching that certain age, but I get a little sweaty at night, or maybe, I don't know if it's my partner,
hot.
but I'm kidding.
I mean, they're not that comfy.
Yeah, the sleeping bag doesn't feel as good as the sheet.
No, not at all. Well, it's silk. I mean, you can't go wrong with silk. Even coming home after a trip and I get into my pretty comfortable bed, it's still not even the same level of comfort as the silk travel sheet. And I'm really not at the point where I can afford silk sheets at home. They're quite costly. So I have to enjoy it while I'm traveling.
Yeah, you're it's over a year old now on the company Brave Era?
Indeed, we started selling in November of 2016, and it's been a really exciting ride. Listening to Adam, your previous guest on the show, who was fascinating. I loved that conversation, talking about, visiting animals in their natural habitat as opposed to zoos and, kind of the unkind places. Actually, the place I really kind of fell in love with the idea of doing a travel sheet was Tanzania in Africa.
Oh, you know, our
so,
neighboring country of Kenya was our home. So yeah.
Absolutely, because I was very, very fortunate to tag along with a friend who was traveling to Tanzania, and that really was the most amazing travel experience of my life, to see those animals in their natural habitat. I've never been a fan of zoos or circuses or when I was a kid, all that stuff freaked me out.
We love you even more.
So, but this is like a real chance to just kind of go off with a driver, and sometimes you drive miles and miles and not see a thing, and that's fine. And then occasionally you get lucky and see something really amazing, a lion, giraffes, just the zebras, that experience just changed everything for me. And so that was really the impetus to me starting to travel with sleeping bag liners, which were very similar to what I ended up creating. Mostly because I was afraid to get malaria at the time. My travel doctor said.
Yeah, we understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, really that was, of course you're sleeping in most places, under a netting, under a mosquito net. But, a lot of those are old. There's holes. Mosquitoes are still getting in.
And there's blood on them from someone still smacking something, Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You spent some time in Africa. So, So I treated one of those sleeping bag liners with a permethrin, I think is how you pronounce the chrysanthemum derivative. So it's a natural byproduct.
Oh, yeah.
And that, I guess, detracts the mosquitoes. And I didn't have any trouble. And I felt really confident sleeping like that, each night without worrying.
And with this, you can spray whatever you want to spray on it, right? If you want to get because I know that's one of the things people are going to go, okay, but I'm going into crazy land of maybe, I know some areas in Louisiana, man, they call the state bird the mosquito, So that's what they call it, So it's there's some areas where it really does get crazy, but you are going to need to spray something, and please don't do the DEET thing. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I don't know. That's not nice. So there's you can spray it on there, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so that's why, we don't manufacture any of those chemicals personally for a lot of reasons. It's just, I don't know, it's not in my wheelhouse. But, and of course, our sheets are all completely naturally hypoallergenic, and they're not treated with any chemicals at all. So that's important to me. But for those, and I grew up in Florida, so believe me, I know a little bit about mosquitoes. For those who are going to places with mosquitoes or worried about bed bugs, they definitely have the option to treat it, just like I did with my sheet in Africa. And another little tip, and this is thanks to my travel doctor, this amazing, wonderful woman who I think spent 20 years traveling the world providing medical care to underserved communities. And that's, she was the one who told me to do this because she'd made many trips to Tanzania, actually. And she said, go ahead and treat all of your clothes and things, including the sheet, with this mosquito repellent, the natural, not DEET, but, the chrysanthemum derivative. And then she said, what I do every time is leave all of my clothing there, because obviously I don't need that, back here in the States necessarily. And that way, who knows, you may have saved 100 lives potentially from the different people who could possibly, wear your clothes for years and years. That stuff can last for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years if it's not washed too much.
Oh.
And so I felt like, and I came back with the clothes on my back wearing a pair of flip-flops because I was so excited to do her plan, And
that is so
there.
smart too, because you're also not transferring things back and forth, I mean, just like I was saying at the beginning of the show about, we have to clean our stuff off before we go into national parks now because of this fungus going onto bats, and and it's something we don't really normally think of. Like you drive in, and you go, hey, let's go for a hike, but now they're like, clean off your backpack, clean at the bottom of your shoes, because you're tracking things in from another county or maybe another country, and how do you know? So I think she's absolutely right with that. That is so cool, and then that gives people clothes, and that's a big deal because it's hard out in different areas,
Absolutely.
It's interesting. You've been to Tanzania and Zanzibar, so you went to Freddie Mercury's home country, man. Queen. Yeah. Did you see his
on accident?
So you travel like Nancy and I. So you went there by accident? That's cool.
Well, that wasn't necessarily part of the plan, but it was. Yeah, I mean, Tanzania was amazing. Zanzibar was also just such an awesome experience, just to be like in the water in another part of the world like that with such different creatures. I mean, I feel like we know so little about what's in our oceans still. And, certainly there were all kinds of fish and wildlife, aquatic wildlife that I've never seen before, anywhere else in the U.S. and Thailand, anywhere else where I've been lucky to swim. So it was really amazing.
When did you start traveling? Because I know you've been to Western Europe, Scandinavia, you sent me this Greece, Thailand, Japan, China, Taiwan, Costa Rica, Iceland. So many people are going to Iceland. It seems like it's the coolest place to go, like literally, and then there's hot springs and stuff. But what started your travel bug for you, and what age did you start traveling?
Well, my mom was actually an Army brat. That's what they call them. I don't think she was probably that bratty, but I guess that's what they call them. So she grew up all over the world and spoke, as I was growing up, 7 different languages. I unfortunately did not get that gene, but I struggle with barely a second and maybe understanding slightly a third and a couple other phrases from various others. But growing up, I grew up in Florida, and occasionally I was lucky to go to Disney World. Of course, as a kid, that's where you want to go on your birthday. And and I just remember being in line at Disney World, and my mother could practically understand everyone around us and have conversations with different people in line from all over the world. I mean, she spoke everything from, Italian, German, Russian, Hebrew. I mean, just really mind-blowing. So, it was, again, this is, I was really impressed. And I think for me, kind of just being exposed to that and getting so curious about all of these different people who were coming to Florida, which is, as you know, big tourism state. I think I just thought already, I want to explore and kind of be the foreigner in all of these people's countries and see what's going on there, So I think that was kind of the impetus when I was younger, is just, kind of growing up in a household where, my mom had all of this experience living abroad. So it seemed just very natural to want to explore.
Yeah, that's kind of for me too. I mean, we kind of did as a young kid, with Nancy being, the helm of like, we're going here, okay. Going here, okay, cool. Like, and then it's like I know that you were an elementary school teacher, but I hope you don't mind that I went to 16 different schools in my life.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
That's a headache for your teachers.
I know Macbeth really well.
It didn't hurt you.
No, it didn't. There was some gaps in there too, because we went on a tour of South Africa for 2.5 years where she was homeschooling me, and they had to test me, go into schools and check on my work, and later I did screw up on math, because like the trigonometry thing at that point, I was like, dude, listen,
really?
I know how to haggle, in India with Indian people, but like, no, I mean,
trigonometry
like,
is
if you can,
do you use it every day?
I don't know when the last time you needed to know that.
To me.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, but yeah, but it's so cool. Like, when we got back to this country after living in South Africa, we lived in Florida. That was our first place because some of our family lived there, and we lived in Melbourne. Well, first place was Port St. Lucie, and then Nancy moved to West Palm, and that was in Melbourne. And then we went on this vacation together after a couple of years of living here, and we went to all over the place. We went to Caribbean. We did all these things, but we ended up at the Epcot Center and I'm not a Disney person, honestly, but because I didn't grow up that way, just different lifestyle. But we went to the Epcot Center, and that blew my mind totally. I just went like, okay, I may be 19, but at that point, I'm like, I'm not done now. Now I have to like start all over. I felt like I had to start my life again because it was like all these different countries, and they had a ride per country or continent, and like a restaurant and all these different things. And we went through Morocco, we went through Norway with trolls, Canada, and all these different places. All I know is I did have too much to drink on that little round because they had all these different bars. I must have been over 21 at that time.
I was going to say, be careful here.
Because I remember coming over the plane, they wouldn't let me have a drink, and I was like,
That's
what?
right.
I'm 18, like 19, and they're coming into the States. They're like, no. How rude of you. And I'm like, what? I'm South African. But anyhow, I remember us having this big party and enjoying going from country to country to country. And I woke up the next morning, I'm like, dude, there's so many more countries we have to see. Let's go. Because the Epcot Center was the coolest thing. Did you ever go to the Epcot Center when you were in Florida?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you know what I'm talking about, the craziness.
And I remember the troll, actually, in Norway. In actual Norway, I never ran across a troll, but there was definitely one at Epcot Center.
That
was
big
pretty
troll.
cool.
I know.
There's that big
ride.
troll. And the Moroccan restaurant, too.
My mom's second husband was that troll.
Yeah, he did. He looks like the troll, but anyway. He's from Guernsey, the Isle of Man, but he's passed on, and he really was like a troll person.
He looked just like it.
He was a mean troll. But anyway, so we can say that. We can. We can. But sorry. But no, but that's so cool. So that's so cool that you've seen the troll, because I haven't talked to anybody who's seen the troll in Norway.
I remember. It's been years, but I do remember it.
Okay, so it was a long time ago. So now you travel all over. So is this something, do you like just go, okay, every year I'm going to go somewhere new, or, how do you, and how, like now with your business? I mean, a year in, and I know this is doing your own company. It's not easy because I know you've got product to deliver and ship out, and I know it's a good product.
Oh yeah, it's definitely been really a lot of work, but extremely rewarding and exciting. And so I'm really excited to get up every day and kind of tackle the next problem and learn. And I am a lifelong learner. I did work in education, and so there's no shortage of new things to learn on a daily basis running a company. So to answer your question, I mean, before, when I was working in education and I was doing the music thing, teaching was my day job while I pursued music because I got benefits with teaching. And as you might have heard, they're not really handing out, health benefits when you're a rock musician.
Really? or anyone at this point. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
That's true. Yes, that's true. So it provided kind of a nice balance. And, I did get to travel a little bit because, just kind of, not that I ever really had money to travel. Because it's weird. You run into people and like, oh, you're so lucky. Oh, yeah. It's like, no, I sublet my apartment. I sold half my stuff. I scraped together money, and I traveled with a backpack eating off the same loaf of bread for days at a time with a jar of peanut butter. Like, this is not, if you want to travel, you make it happen. You don't wait to, you don't really wait for travel to find you, And I know you know that. So
but that's it. I know about the peanut butter and the bread. That is it. I remember in South Africa when we were on the tour, they had these like cracker things, and we were eating mustard and crackers. Remember, living on mustard and crackers, and people would look at us and was like, "There's wheat in there." Like, it's all good. It's all good.
The funny thing is, I just went on an entrepreneurial trip, the one to Iceland, which was just a few months ago this fall, and I was getting so much flack from the other people on that trip because, again, I mean, this is, now it was 2016, whatever then, or sorry, 17, end of 17, and there I was again after, decades of traveling with my jar of peanut butter because it was expensive in Iceland. I mean, the meals there, it's no joke. So, of course, I'm there with a bunch of other entrepreneurs. We're all at kind of different levels of, starting out, a little more established. And I'm still in crunch mode over here, really trying to provide an amazing product, make it work, I don't really spare any expense in production and marketing and, making sure everything looks good, and it costs money, So there I was with my loaf of bread and my peanut butter again, just like I was in my 20s, and I was backpacking through Europe. I was like, here I am. But hey, I got to go to Iceland, so there it is.
That's so cool. But I want to ask you, do you think you might make pillowcases? And the reason I ask is because I wanted to bring up, I think the hotels do a really good job. They clean a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's such a thing called the dust mite, and
yes,
there's a difference between cleaning the pillowcases and the pillows.
Yes.
And
I'm so glad you bring that up.
I just want to say the dust mites are a really industrious little creature.
And they give you bumps too
Mm-hmm.
on your skin.
Well,
and it can take up to 6 months to get rid of.
And I just think that something should go over.
Well, your sheet does. Your sheet has that, but there's like, we want pillows cases.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the travel sheet that I sent over to Lisa to check, the travel sheet itself has a built-in pillowcase. So for one, the travel sheet on purpose, because I'm also sketched out by pillows, I actually change my pillows at home. This is actually part of my routine. Not too many people know this, but it'll sound a little eccentric, but then hopefully it'll sound nice. So this is my routine. I live in Santa Monica. Unfortunately, we have a pretty high homeless population here, but the weather's great. So, I guess that, there's a lot of reasons to be here, a lot of tourists, a lot of generous citizens that, help take care of the homeless here. So every 6 months, even at home, I change out my pillows. I don't spend a lot of money on new pillows, go to Costco or Target or wherever, and I'll bring my old pillows to homeless people on the street right about 7 or 8 o'clock whenever people are starting to lie down for the night, find a little nook. And that's just one of the little things I do to try to help out in the neighborhood is, because I feel like, okay, it's maybe a little gratuitous that I'm changing them out every 6 months, and they're probably fine. That's just me. Again, I did make the travel sheet, so we know I'm a little particular about these things.
Yeah.
No,
it's cool.
Yeah.
But we know the hotels. The hotels are certainly not changing them every 6 months.
They're not. They're not. And the thing, to me, is I like having a little hoodie because, okay, like I know places where like you were saying about the mosquito, America doesn't seem to know about the mosquito tent. Like they don't seem to have the whole drop. I've never seen the drop down like here you can cover your bed.
No.
And I know, like, here's the thing to me, I don't want things in my ears, in my nose, in my mouth. And I remember in South Africa, a friend of mine in boarding school that I only lasted for a year because I'm not good at it. She had a slug crawl across her mouth, right? But she was one of the girls none of us liked because she was,
No,
But anyway, so we thought it was funny. This is teenage girls, right? But anyway, the thing is, there's a thing about covering your ears, like you want a hoodie almost, and that's what I like about it. Like, to me, it's comfortable, you feel good, and when you're traveling, you can walk into the gnarliest places and flip-flops. Everyone travel with flip-flops. Get in the shower with them. Don't walk barefoot. Yeah. I'm a barefoot person. Put your flip-flops on, and when you go to bed, keep them on. But even like being able to have a little bit of this luxury allows you to go, okay, it's not that bad. I don't have to freak out all night. Because if you do not have a good night's sleep, you're going to suck the next day, and you're not going to enjoy what you went there for. So to me, that's why having like tools like this, and that it fits in a backpack. So what I did with the travel sheet, right? So I slept with it in my bed, and it's probably going to stay there for a while. So I'm just saying. But I decided, because I'm a Virgo and I am a neat freak and everything, and everything has to be orderly. But then there's this complete opposite personality of being a complete mess. And so you can fold it up and put it in. It's got this little pocket, and so I'm like, I'm testing this on. This is all cool, and I'm like, oh, I better fold it all nice, but I didn't. I just like grabbed it all up and did exactly what I would do, and I could fit it in the little pocket that it comes with, and it will fit into everything. So you can be a mess like me and just crunch it all up, and it will still fit in that little pocket. That's so cool. That's the beauty of silk, right?
Thank you. And you know what? That was by design, because one of my pet peeves with so many travel products that try to be compact is that, and even like air mattresses, there's so many things that fall on this list where when you buy the product, it fits in the bag it came in. But as soon as you use it once, there is no way you will ever get it back into whatever pouch, bag, net, mesh, whatever thing. And, you know, as I was designing this, that was top on my mind because it's such a pet peeve. Nobody has a machine folding mechanism at home that they can get it back like the factory. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, so I definitely
you need the
thought
vacuum
about that.
the vacuum cleaner. Take it with you so you can vacuum pack your clothes.
Oh, yeah. And then what do? Yeah. Take that with you on your travels?
Yeah, you take your vacuum cleaner with you so you can vacuum pack your clothes.
So you can get back home.
Exactly.
Okay, sorry. No, she's leaving her clothes behind, remember? So that doesn't work. But she's taking her sheet with her.
They won't go back into the suitcase.
You could put the pocket with the sheet in it. You could attach it to a carabiner and connect it to your loopholes on your jeans or something.
I would probably put the sheet on the airplane.
I know. Mm-hmm. Like seriously. Are you going to make?
We have had quite a few people talk about using it on an airplane. Actually, a few flight attendants posed. I could find those pictures somewhere, but showed they were using them in the airplane seats. And there are a couple of products kind of in development. They're hush-hush still because they're still in development that will be designed for airplane use. So I will leave that to the imagination for now, but in 2018, those should be available. So, and then just to speak on that last point, I think for us, if you're an adventurous traveler, I mean, there's different types of travelers, right?
Sure.
There are people who want to go in a tour group. They want to stay at a 5-star, 4-star hotel. They don't really want to mingle with local people. They want to hang out with the people they came with, stay there, take a couple shots for Instagram, go home. That's not me. I don't think that's you. It's not most of the people I know. So the reason I was excited to make this product was the type of traveling I do and adventurous travelers and adventurous women travelers, we want to go to kind of the parts unknown, to the places that are kind of less traveled. And so this is kind of a way to bring luxury, a little bit of kind of security blanket luxury with you, and you can stay at that crazy tented camp in the middle of the wilderness with, where otherwise you just might not be sure about that. But there's that little safety in bringing this product. And, for me, it's been that in a ton of places because I travel with it everywhere. I mean, obviously it's my product. I forgot it actually on my last snowboarding trip, and I almost ordered from Amazon to have it next day shipped to
Oh my God, I know, and everyone, you can't get it on Amazon, and that's the thing I wanted to say too. It's like, to me, honestly, so to all the women sleeping with the bad boys, like, bring this with you. There's a time where they roll over, and then you can get your sheet on.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, unintended use. Good idea.
I'm sorry. Well, no, there's a. I'm just saying. There is I really don't want to stay at your place. I'm bringing my own sheet. And when as soon as they roll over and snore, because right after that's what happens, you just whip your sheet out and you're cozy for the rest of the night. Sorry. Look, it's my new commercial for Brave Era.
Maybe change our whole marketing campaign at this point.
I know, okay. Lastly, I want to say that for women, this is such an important thing because I know men who think that women don't travel like this way, and it's
that's
women
wrong.
do travel and they do go on their own. I know you're a solo traveler too, and it's you can go in groups, and there's just women who do exactly what we're talking about, whether it's national parks. Or a lot of friends on Instagram are solo women travelers. Sometimes they all hook up and go camping together or whatever, but they, it's not like women are a powerful force in the tourism world, and I think you're a big part of that. So right on to you, and for working with women for products for women. I don't see very many products that they may go, okay, well, if it's clothing, your crotch is going to be different than a guy's in the hip area kind of deal, but but there's nothing with like, here, have some luxury while you go, and it's functional. And I think that hats off to you for doing that. And I want to know, where's your next destination that you've never been to? Like, even if you haven't planned it, like, where do you want to go?
Oh, that is a good question. So I have never actually been to South America, and I really want to snowboard in South America. and there's many countries. I want to go to every country. I mean, almost every country in the world. So hate to limit myself, but yeah. And then also on my list, and this is kind of a far reach, but you could get there from South America. One of my friends saw. Went and explored Antarctica and got to sleep with penguins walking around in their natural habitat.
Cool.
And that is definitely a bucket list trip.
I want to do that.
I know.
I want to do that.
I love penguins.
I want to do that. Okay, real quick, because we're talking about a sheet, and you're talking about snow and snowboarding, this is the other thing. I want to make sure, because like right now it's cold. In Tucson, my little toes are getting cold. We may get snow this weekend. You never know, but not snowboarding where we are. We're in South Tucson, but we got Mount Lemon. We got Mount Lemon, but
if we get a half an inch, we'd be
we get a little dusting. Our friends in New Orleans and Natchitoches, Louisiana, all those areas are getting snow, which is cool. But
crazy, yeah.
This is something like it's an insert into your sleeping bag, right? So it's like double protection.
Exactly. So I think most of our customers use it in hotels, hostels, Airbnbs, just in a bed, and sometimes with the other sheets or comforters over them. And then we definitely have people who are using it inside a sleeping bag. But I think our customers are actually more so using it in hotels, like tented camps, just different environments that aren't necessarily camping. Yeah,
glamping. Glamping has got to be big on that. Glamping is like huge now.
Yeah,
it's huge. Yeah. We've got clients who have a glamping resort. I remember we had to explain, like, I remember marketing it and having to explain what glamping was, you know, and it's luxury camping, and then you'd have to define it because it wasn't quite here yet. But Africa had it down a long time ago.
If you say glamorous, then you got the
glamping.
G to the L to the glamping.
But now they're getting it like glamping is good because it gets kids involved with camping because they've never been camping before, which I think is really cool. But then there's a side of me like, really? Like, I don't know. I grew up in the dirt in Africa, so like it's hard for me to even get there. So it's just kind of, I get it, but I don't. But power to it because it's getting kids and families out. So that's good. That's good. Okay, so everyone, braveera.com is the website to go. It's on Amazon as well. Pricing, what's your main pricing? Like if you think for like a full year from now, or should we just leave that because it can't? I know prices fluctuate.
Yeah, the price of silk since I started manufacturing the product has unfortunately gone up as a commodity, but I've kept our pricing the same. So our retail price is $99.99, and we typically are keeping it on sale for as long as possible for $79.99. And again. If the commodity price changes so much that higher that I can't possibly afford to keep that price, I'll have to change it. But it seems like we should be able to keep the $79.99 price. And you can wash it a ton of times. I've washed mine personally about 40 times probably. Still in great shape. Just started to, after 40 times, maybe one little stitch started to come a little loose. But that's in an apartment, a really junky apartment washing machine with jeans and hoodies on regular cycle. That's not treating it kindly. I'm on purpose beating mine up because I want to know the limits of the product. I really want to make sure it's going to last.
I'll let you know from mine because it's about to get some heavy duty, like work around. It's going to get some work.
For me,
that's great to hear.
Because It's silk, and
it's so
I would
comfortable.
talk to it nicely, hand
Yeah,
wash
give
it,
it a name.
rinse it, give it a name for sure.
Because as women, we give everything a name.
And then thank it for keeping dust mites away from me, because.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so we're going to play another song of yours, Anything. So
oh, boy.
Before you go, tell us a little bit. Are you still performing? Or tell us, everyone can go to aldenmusic.com, and that's ALDEN, aldenmusic.com. Everyone can go there. But tell us a little bit about that before we play this.
So, the first song you played and then also the song Anything were two that I wrote a few years ago on spec for the 50 Shades of Grey movie. Obviously, 50 Shades ended up, going with Beyonce, these minor artists like Beyonce no one's ever heard of. And
right.
So
how dare they?
So exactly. So they stayed in my catalog. I am 100% focused on Brave Era and, growing out the company for the time being. But, it was really fun and exciting, being in the music business, making music. Who knows what will happen in the future? But yeah, for right now, I feel like I get to be so creative with the company and, designing new products, working on the logos and website and branding. I mean, I'm a one-woman show over here. So anything you see that maybe even looks like there's a whole company behind it, that's by design. And that means I'm just working my tail off over here, try to make that look like that. But I get to really put, my creativity into the company. And, you and I both know the music business it's rough. And that's something I'll say, after coming out of the music business, and I kind of joke with my other entrepreneurial friends about this, especially e-commerce friends, I'm like, I can see what very few like pseudo competitors, because I wouldn't even consider we really have competitors in the space making anything at this level. I've bought all of the other products, and they don't compare. So I don't really consider we have legit competitors, but regardless, I can see all of those in a spreadsheet on my computer. Think back to the music business. I mean, there's an infinite number of competitors at any given time. So, I think it prepares you. It's like, not that this is easy, because it's certainly a lot of work, but I guess, being in an industry like, entertainment certainly gives you perspective on any other aspirations you might have.
Creativity and personalities and showmanship and showing up and all of it. It's in discipline, and some people don't have the discipline, I'm just saying, but obviously you do, and everything you're doing is quality. I've seen everything you've done, and just go on the website, everyone, braveera.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm so glad we connected with you, and that I have a cozy travel sheet to go around and feel all luxurious in rat-infested hotels. Thank you.
Nice.
Because it happens sometimes. Sorry.
It does.
There's a lot of good hotels out there, I'm just saying, but there's those moments where you suddenly realize you've been on this road trip too long, and you got to pull over and go.
And there's like, you're not alone.
Sorry, and bring you get out of the car, put your flip flops on right then, put your money into that little thing, and then you go in, and you've got your travel sheet. You're all good. Thanks so much. Here it is.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
going to play Anything.
Thank you,
so
Lisa
much
and
for
Nancy.
joining us, Nicole.
All Thank you so much.
Take care, and happy travels.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For you, I'd do anything. I let you control me. You know you own me right now. I want more when you hold me. Can you
everyone. Nicole Alden, go to aldenmusic.com. What an incredible voice.
Awesome.
And go to braveera.com as well, and an incredible travel sheet. What a great story. She's going to come back on. It's fun.
That was fun.
Totally fun. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back on Friday for our Toast to the Arts and Toast to the Blues. January 19th, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to talk about the Yuma, Arizona Boogie Brews and Blues Festival, talk about new art exhibits at the DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun Gallery in Tucson here, and also the San Benito County Arts Council in San Benito County. So join us then. Take care.